traveler needs three things: strength to complete any task, determination not to abandon their intentions, and a heart that sympathizes with friends. The red-haired boy shouted to his aunt that as soon as he acquires the skill, he will definitely enroll and become an adventurer. One of the children suggests going to look for food, and another asks what he tells them. So in this world there is a blessing ceremony. After 14, even orphans like them can undergo it and receive this skill. This was their last chance to break free from that terrible life. A man, covered in wounds and blood, lies almost unconscious. 5 years ago they returned to the church in the kingdom of Centrasilia. They say this year's ceremony is abundant with gifts. A child named Kurdrad was given the highest level skill suitable for magic great sage, and the girl Zeta happily exclaims that she can't believe she received an extremely rare double skill, Holy Wave and Healing Hand. Leber was given the skill of courage. If applied skillfully, it is truly unique. The old man says this is God's grace, and that the power granted to them by compassionate people is meant to fight terrible monsters and demons. Kurdrad assures that he will definitely become the best mage in the world. The old man says he hopes so and asks Zeta to return to the church because her abilities are characteristic of the Holy Maiden. She joyfully replies that she will definitely be useful to people. The boy tells that he grew up in the slums and is now brave, and he confidently says that they will do it. The old man says that those who received God's blessings are obliged to use them. They must know this, and he asks them if they understand. They shouted joyfully that they understood everything, and then the old man added that they have another one, whose name he cannot recall. But does it even matter? He has no skills at all. This poor guy's name is Ryuya. He doesn't understand why it happened this way. Why is he the only one without this skill? The old man approaches and, to comfort him, says that there are many who did not receive the gift. This year, along with him, there were 4 others at the ceremony, but an unusual, exceptional situation occurred. He says that it has never been heard of 3 people becoming skill masters simultaneously, as now, and all of the highest rank. He still cannot comprehend why he was left with nothing, and the old man just waved it off and said it was God's will. He tells him, do not despair more than necessary, let him go. Let him return to his old life, because that is how ordinary people live. If you understand, let go. Ryuya is still both angry and upset at the same time. Why did it happen this way? 3 more approach him and begin to comfort him, saying they feel sorry and that he is dear to them. They are just children and have survived until today only because they help each other. Ryuya raises his eyes with hope. They begin to say that now everything is different. With such skills they will quickly become strong, says Zeta. This is where they say goodbye, and she will not forget him. And Liber wishes him luck in his lonely search for trash. They walk and discuss on the way, and Zeta overdid it with her heartless "I will not forget," because politeness is now a necessary key to success. Is she really training it now? He hears their laughter, and suddenly someone tugs his hair. The old man says to him, didn't I tell you to get out of here? Because only in humility do the powerless find virtue. The old man says he will give him advice. Supposedly, many untalented people have exactly this story. Does he really think it is worth leveling up if he has no skills? He sharply interrupted and declared that it is just fantasy, as if you fight monsters and demons, gather experience, and level up without any skills. Therefore, it is a completely stupid idea. They threw him out onto the street, saying that it is not a sin to be ordinary. The sin is to senselessly rush into the forest to level up and end up eaten by demons. Only fools do that. The old man enters the church and says that it is his will. No matter how many mediocre people perish, the world will lose nothing. Let him follow the path that suits him best. A flash passed through Ryu's mind that he had lost. He imagined how the life of any unfortunate orphan could change if here, at the blessing ceremony, he gained a skill, and in this all-in-one-time bet, he turned out to be the only loser. It seems Labor, Zeta, and Kurdrad hit a huge jackpot. That's wonderful. He thinks that if his friends are happy, he will feel good too, and then suddenly he starts crying. He screams through his sobs how much it hurts. He says a bunch of words, wipes his tears, and decides to put an end to it. Now he needs to think about what awaits him. How is he supposed to live now? If he continues to live as before alone, he will eventually die under the weight of resentment. If to prevent this he needs to intervene, he will have to take a risk. In other words, level up. Even if hundreds of thousands of people without any skills tried and failed in his current situation, the chances are extremely slim. At the same time, his level after growing up in the city is equal to one probably that doesn't matter either. From now on, to survive and at least look at them with triumph, there is no other way. Family, wealth, friends, those who have nothing to lose, no matter what, can become strong. After a few days, Ryuya, already exhausted, bitterly exclaims that this is completely unrealistic and that he will die. He has not killed a single monster. He looks at his palm and does not understand what it is. Even the one with the horned hair, who seemed to him the weakest, approached and beat him. He is bleeding again and afraid. In any case, he ran every day and was increasingly covered with wounds. There were no serious injuries, but he was scratched and bitten. If this continues, it will be cruel. He cannot get rid of the thought that all this is in vain. People without skills who try to rise end up with nothing. Unfortunately, they are killed. Ordinary life is no longer the best choice for a person. He dreams a dream. He does not understand his situation, and when he faces reality, he sees it. At the end of the path awaits death, level 1, without skills and without comrades in battle. He says that if he does not return now, he will really stop thinking about it, and adds, since he will die anyway, it does not matter by which path he must move forward. And so, deep in the forest, he met a blue dragon. Even he knew about the horror that came from the dragon. Rumors and legends said that he killed the best adventurers in the blink of an eye and destroyed countless towns and villages. He trembles, realizes he is dead, and does not know what to do next. Suddenly, he hears a voice. Someone says that by the will of the heavens he dared to descend to the earth and never thought he would encounter such a strange fate. Ryuya thinks that maybe the dragon is speaking. They tell him that he is mistaken. He is not just a dragon, he is a dragon serpent, but Ryuya does not believe it. The dragon serpent whispered that his fate was able to bind fates, shake the will of the sky, and brought him together with her, then asked him what he desires in the future. Ryuya understands nothing. What is he talking about? Fate, the will of the sky, desire. He imagines what the dragon serpent says, how to kill him. The dragon serpent says that whatever he desires to grasp that desire, he must do everything with his own hands, until he himself desires something with all his heart and reaches out for it. Neither the sky, nor the earth, nor people, nor gods will give him anything, and he asks again. What does he desire? The hero asks him again. Ryuya thinks about what nonsense he is carrying again. No matter how much he asks for skill, the gods gave nothing, and if he asks, will the serpent dragon really fulfill his desire? He clenches his fist and says that now he craves power, such power that even without the skill that God was supposed to give him, he would have no problems at all. He asks if the dragon serpent will grant it to him. The dragon serpent begins to laugh. He says, that power is possible. But as he already said, neither the sky nor the earth will give him anything. He himself must grasp his desire and feed it. Everything within his power only help him, and he will get everything, both the desired and the undesired. Ryuya asks if this is true, and he answers that this is also the will of the sky. When Ryuya asks how this happens, he says he will explain briefly now. The blue dragon serpent human Anushi will become his devilish trainer and beat him cruelly until he collapses exhausted. He confidently says that he understood him. After 5 years, Ryuya lies on the ground from a blow and hears them say that the break is over. Ryuya asks the teacher, the dragon serpent, to repeat. He says that it is enough and orders him to check his status. His name is Ryuya, level 8,347,917. No skills but power 27,493,300, speed 28,998,234, physical strength 319,616, intellect 25,444,671, and charm 2,641,807. Ryuya says that he is without talent and without any skills, so for now it is worth practicing a little more. The dragon simply tells him, no, this ordinary people do not rise above level 99. He asks if this is really serious. The dragon confirms. He asks again, why is it? Because his enemy was a serpent-like dragon. The dragon replies that he can only say that is his fate. He says that the maximum level of a serpent dragon is 10 million, and that since he has become stronger together with him, now is the best time to stop in this zone. Ryu looks at his palm honestly. He has not fully realized this yet. He aspired to become strong enough to overcome his lack of skills. He wonders if he has approached his ideal. The serpent dragon teases him, saying that he is about to cry from sadness. He says threateningly that no, he recalled his hellish days. He thanks the dragon and says that it is all thanks to him. Then the serpent dragon said that he has a farewell gift for him. He says that the power he received he grew and mastered himself over the years, and adds they give nothing, and the gift should remain between them. Ryuya agrees, and the dragon says goodbye to him. He says that his stone has reached the next level, so now it is better for him to go and do what he wants. Ryutachi asks if they will meet again. He only answers that it will happen if fate has assigned it to him. Ryuya says that these 5 years were like a dream. He really almost died every time. Suddenly monsters appear behind him. He sees that they are goblins and he gets angry. They so brazenly interfere with his memories, so he rushes at them. One goblin simply disappears from the blow. He waved his hand and said that nothing worked out. He broke it into small pieces again, since there were no corpses left, and noticed that the goblins still did not run away. He defeated all the goblins and now stands confused, not knowing what to do next. The training not only made him stronger in body, it seemed to be also a story about how he cleansed his soul from small offenses and hostility. He will gain strength and rise, laughing at the friends who left him before. Prior to training, he had such feelings, but now for some reason they disappeared somewhere. He risked his life so much that there was no time for it, but now it cannot continue like this. He suddenly remembered something and says that maybe it is worth implementing this plan again. Even without skills, he will somehow make ends meet by performing tolerable tasks. He jumps off the cliff and decides to try to become an adventurer. He lands calmly and walks along the riverbank, but men with evil looks stop him, laughing and saying that it is dangerous to wander here alone. The circle gradually closes around Robert. They say that if he does not mind, they will take him to a safe place. Revia thinks that if they do not forcibly take his personal belongings, then they want him specifically. He asks them if they really kidnap people, and one of them says that by such words he insults them, because they are ordinary people, friendly and a bit wild. One says if only he had some good skills. One asks another, will the merchant pay a lot for this? The other says, what a wonderful plan. They keep insisting that this means, if he does not want to die, he will follow them obediently. He should not worry, he will be sold for a high price, and he will be glad if a high price is named for him. Revia, sighing bitterly, tells them that, unfortunately, he has no skills, and even if he were sold, they would not get much for him. Someone whispers to him, even if he lies, the merchant, thanks to his ability to assess instantly, will see through the lie, and honestly, they will be satisfied even with a sale for a pittance. Rayek tells them that nothing can be done, asks him if he has come to terms with having no source of income, and he answers that he has. In the next moment, Ryuya simply hit the man. He flew far away, and the bandits instantly panicked. They shout that he killed him with bare hands and say, be careful, he is still very skilled. There is an HS skill for surprise attacks, such a cool thing that they decided to kill him, because he will no longer be merchandise. Ryu realizes that their comrade has died, but the joy of a great catch is stronger. He calls them psychos. Everyone attacks him at once and all simply die. The last one trembles with fear and begs for help. Ryuya says that if he lets them go, they will sell because they have already done too much. Ryo does not look like a person who is completely indifferent to killers, but instead of dragging him out of this wasteland for several days and handing him over to the authorities, it is better to kill him. Another one approaches and says that while he was minding his own business, he dared to kill everyone. Ryo turns around and hears that he has such a powerful skill. Jack asks if this is purely a buff skill, thinks that he is a leader, and says that he has no skills. Here a bodybuilder changes his appearance and says, to be honest, I also have a strengthening skill. I have +10 to strength, so why don't we measure strength? Ryuya asks him if he is even listening to him. Ryuya asks if he really robs in the mountains. After all, he has the skill and supposedly is chosen. Jock asks, so what? Rivi says that strength is created to help others, but he himself, having the ability, uses it only for himself. Moreover, he tries to harm others. He asks if he is stupid. Then he says that, as he wanted, they will measure their strength. Rhea lifts a huge stone with one hand, and the bodybuilder immediately got scared. Ryuya shouts that he is a robber and aims a stone at him. He howls and finally the stone crushes that bodybuilder. Riva raises his head and sees someone. A jump and he is already next to the man. He asks if he is the merchant who incited those bandits. The man trembles with fear. Rhea asks if they were his guards. He says no, and Rhea adds that he met him on the road while transporting goods. Ryoya says that the shop closes today, but he increasingly denies it. The merchant immediately falls to his knees and begs for forgiveness, saying that Ryoya is really strong if that is so. Maybe under his leadership, they will find a useful application for his skill. Ryoya is stunned. The merchant quickly blurts out that as a reward he will pay him 3 times more than he had to give those freeloaders, such is the price of his skills, and Ryoya asks if he really offers to become his accomplice. The merchant says that it seems he misunderstood. After all, such trade is also a great thing. You give customers what they want because it ranked 16th among desired professions. If he is not interested in money, payment can be made differently. Revia listens to this with a stone face. The merchant says that for this they pay from an innocent girl to a mature woman, of course, even men. He laughs and says that, of course, this is for the world, for the people. The next second, blood splattered, the merchant dies. He gets into the dealer's car, opens the door, and sharply says that if anyone is here, better run away. He notices a little girl with chains on her hands and wonders if she is also a victim of kidnapping. In the kingdom of Centicillian, in the fashionable center of Simonora, the girl is kindly called Madam and asked if she has any wishes, whether she has enough of the essentials or wants something for the holiday. They promise to fulfill any of her orders. They say today she is also in pleasant casual clothes, almost like pajamas. The girl trembles and does not know what to do. She was allowed to choose anything she wants, but this is her first time in such a fashionable store, and she asks you to help. She sees Ryuya, who is sitting on a chair with his head down and a gloomy expression, and she becomes scared because there is no spark in him. She thinks he is rather irritated, which is quite expected for city people. Maybe on the contrary, it is even cool. At that moment, Ryuya remembers how the girl asked him, promised to do anything just to take her with him. He asks if the merchant caught her. He asks how to return to the homeland. With tears, in fact, she just went through the blessing ceremony. And so she was able to acquire a skill, but what an amazing skill it was. Since then, a strange atmosphere has hung over the village one night when she was sleeping, suddenly. Rhea asks if the merchant kidnapped her then, and with a bitter smile says that what was said is true. Buyers for a young girl with such abilities are more than enough. For them, a rare gift is priceless, and he wonders how in this story the merchants found out about the girl. He assumes that in the village they whispered about her, and the girl tells him that she does not want to return there, neither home nor to that village. Ryuya lifts the girl and agrees to her request, says that now he is going to become a traveler. The girl says that then she will be too. That's how they got here, and it's really wonderful. The worker says that her outfit is suitable for any long journey, as he requested. The girl asks him how he is doing. He gives them a dragon serpent as a farewell gift. He decides that it might come in handy. The girl thanks him and says that she will definitely do everything for him. He does not understand why she is so passionately devoted. They were walking along the Centicilian table. The girl asked her what this huge building was. He replied that it was a castle. She wondered if the king really lived there, and he thought that probably yes, and Rhea remembered that he returned here after 5 years. In the same kingdom, he says, the Adventurers Guild is as magnificent as it should be. Ryuya says that here only abilities matter, so there are plenty of rough people around. He calls her Noam and asks if it doesn't bother her. She panicked and answered no, as if it doesn't affect her. Ryuya says that all this seems unreal, but they will enter anyway. They go in and ask if they can enter. The worker threateningly asks if they really want to register, and they become scared. Noam says that it is a monster. She knew that the Adventurers Guild is a scary place, and the worker Londit says that it seems she is afraid of her and is completely useless, but the young man nearby has nerves of steel. Rhea says that 5 years ago he was completely petrified in front of her. She looks and remembers this is the boy who called her aunt. Noam convinces herself that she is not scary, big but not frightening. She asks what happened to those three, how they are doing, and he begins to tell. She listens and says that people with rare skills are recruited in advance. For the church, this is normal, and she remains a company without any morals. Ryuya says that this is why he trained alone to become an adventurer, even without great skill, and also to be able to help those who are in trouble. He bows and adds, could she register him as an adventurer? She hesitantly begins to say something, and then Noam also asks her. She says that Rhea is an incredible person and that he saved her when bad people kidnapped her. Such a wonderful person will definitely become a true adventurer, and that is pure truth. Ryuya does not understand and asks why she behaves more hot-headed and desperate than him. She awkwardly begins to justify herself, and the girl calls him a fool. She asks him to repeat what an adventurer needs. He answers that it is energy that helps to cope with any task, the ability to stick to one's intentions, and a heart that sympathizes with friends. The girl smiles and happily says that he is accepted. She explains that none of the points included any skills. She has been beside him many times during training. Noam tells him that he is such a good man, and then adds that Lady Londite is also kind, although she looks formidable. Londite says that the girl has been through a lot, so this is completely an illegal matter. She answers something like that. Ryuya begins to tell about this case. When he met her, he immediately killed the merchant and his thugs who attacked him. Londite says that outside the city there are practically no problems with hand-to-hand combat, and even calls him a good person, while Ryuya tells that among the merchant's belongings there was something useful that he gives to her. She takes the documents and is overwhelmed with surprise. She exclaims that these are trade account books, contract duplicates, and even notes about clients' habits. It's cool to give such a gift before registration. Ryuya thinks to himself that it's good he took precautions. No one says that he is still amazing. Lundite says that then she will pass this to a promising recruit, hands over a paper with a mark, and asks if he knows how to use it. Noam asks what it is and he answers. Guild card, shows the registration data and adds this is exactly how they smear blood, and this is what happens to it. Landai looks at his stats and says that 17 levels are enough for a beginner. She asks if this is the result of training, and he thinks to himself that it cannot be, his level is too low. Ryu said yes, asked them to wait a second, and went out. He saw that his level was 8,347,917, sighed with relief, and wondered why they showed him this. He returned and asked if it was true that 99 is the maximum level for a human. Londite confirmed that some books said so, but she had never seen it in practice. Even an adventurer can get rank A by reaching level 50, and surpassing level 60 is already a true legend. Revia understands the map is not designed for levels above 99. so it only shows the last 2 digits. Londite says the registration is complete, but suddenly him interrupts her and begs to take one more person, asking for kindness and favor to allow her to work here. Landit says that since she passed the ceremony, she is already a true adult, and even the guild principals do not give grounds to refuse her. She asks if this will register her skill. Ryuya looks at her. Londite says that she, as a capable adventurer, is ready to summon her skill that will bring her so much trouble. Ryoja intervenes and asks what if she does not show it. She replies that it is impossible, especially when it comes to skills. She says the girl will probably have a hard time, but she will have to do it anyway. No one is shouting that she will do it. She confidently says that together with Mr. Ryu, she will become an adventurer, and she has not a shadow of doubt. Londate says that is a good answer. She extends the card and asks to use it, takes blood, and a characteristic appears. She is at the first level, has the skill King of Alchemy, so her suitable profession is alchemist. Ryoja asks what the king means, quickly flips through the book looking for a list and says, I thought so, this is the highest level of alchemy. The girl does not understand this. Even Londate shouts that this is a top-class skill and there is a mixer, a blacksmith, and a mechanic. Yes, one alchemist is enough to make prices in the city skyrocket. She shouts that this is insanely cool and a real walking industrial revolution. Noam tells Ryui that she considered this ability strange, and he is shocked by Londate's reaction. Londit says that in her native country everyone has gone crazy. She is like a golden egg there, because when such an ability appears, everyone loses their mind. Noam shouts that she wants to be only with Lord Ryuya and trusts only him. Ryuya also felt such distrust towards others. The trusting relationships that existed before were destroyed because of the ability he received. He can do it, so he wants to help her. He tells Noam that he heard everything. She smiled and turned around. Different people began to say that since she has such a cool ability, she should join them, and she and Lord Meshow, the owner of the ability Phantom Hand, would become B-rank friends. They say that if you take care of her, she is also a real cutie. You can create phantoms both day and night. You couldn't come up with anything better. Rua defends her and tells her to go away because she wants to be with him, so there is nothing more to talk about. They start shouting at him, shut up, you are a worthless piece of trash, and don't you dare show off in front of those phantom hands. Here Londit says that it was true self-defense, and 40 minutes later, southeast of the city, on the Corinth Plain, she admits that she fell in love with him again and believes that he has seriously complicated their lives. Ryoya says that he hurt him. No one says it was incredible. Londi tells him not to worry because that rot will be ended someday. She says there is something else more important. They start training recruits and gathering medicinal herbs, but no one responds. Then she shouts that she can't hear them and just as loudly asks if they want to gather herbs, to which two respond by shouting that they do. Londit called Gnome a pink baby just born by their mother, said that cooing is also something good, asked to repeat, and Gnome cooed. Londite shouts at Ryuya, are you happy? And promises to kill in his head all the subtleties of the life of an adventurer without any respite. He shouts that he is happy. She sternly warns both, as soon as you weaken she will cover your bodies with black algae, which reminds of the waste in your guts, and so the training begins. After a few minutes, Londite says that even a skilled one can put 10 wrong things in one basket, and this is the point, time limitation, and Ryuya tells her that he is done. She looks at him and says that everything is correct, but does not understand how he did it. He says he trained in the mountains, and Londite calls him a savage. No one approaches and says that she is also finished. She is shocked. She peers and says with admiration that it is a healing herb of the highest category. Where did she get it? It's just a plague. Ryuya asks the girl if thanks to her skill he became the king of alchemy, and she answers that she does not know such did not grow here, it just caught her eye. She enthusiastically tells Ryu that he is so cool that he can do everything, even without skills, and that she respects him. He awkwardly replies that she is exaggerating. Londite draws attention and says that the herb gathering ended surprisingly quickly, so they happily ask if they can leave earlier. She says that they will be inspecting the territory. In this plain there is a territory where one cannot step. She says that the place they are going to now, during training she wants to explore once with them. After all, they will become adventurers, so she needs to remember it. Revia notices that Lady Londite is trembling, and before them floats a barely noticeable fog. He understands that something extraordinary is definitely hiding ahead. Londite tells them that if they accidentally get lost, they will have to say goodbye to life. The Adventurers Guild of the Kenticilian Kingdom declared a zone where under no circumstances can one enter. This place is called the Zone of Evil Spirits. What is the name of the one who awaits them? Londite says that the clergy also put up a barrier and fight back as best they can. Half the territory has been taken over by evil spirits, and if you accidentally end up here, it will end with them simply driving you to death. They step into forbidden territory where no one was ever allowed to enter. Londite is asked if it is true that they are now beyond the barrier. Loundit says that now is the perfect moment to show them his skill. Quote, hearing enhancement. With this power, even a whisper from afar becomes clear. Even a bodiless spirit that makes no sound will still make its presence known. Rua says that this is a strangely passive skill. Gnome asks why it is not an aggressive ability, and she indignantly asks, why is this even called a skill? She says that with its help she has saved herself from inevitable death more than once or twice. Adventurers know how to avoid dangers. Gnome tells her that is exactly why you are a guild master. Suddenly Loundit asks her to be quiet and says he hears something. A dark monster is rushing towards them. Ruya seems to have heard it. They screamed and panic set in. Loundate shouts that it is the Legion and they must run, so both fled, shouting that it is a representative of the most sinister class and that physical attacks do not work on it. Noam himself notices this, and then Loundit, calling him a fool, asks what he is even doing needs to run faster, and Ruya turns and tells Loundit that Noam trusts her because he has an idea. The girls shouted his name when they saw the monster flying straight at him, and at that very second the monster exploded and disappeared. The girls look at this, shocked. He thought that evil spirits sucked the life force out of a person. When he immediately used his incredible thing, you could call it a technique, was simply wiped off the face of the earth. The girls praise him and say that the laws of physics do not apply to him. Loundit asks if he really has some skill. But for Ryu, something else is more important. The real situation turns out to be much more dangerous than anyone could have imagined. He tells Loundit that he will come. She does not understand him. Ryuaya says that if he continues to drive out evil spirits like this, there will be none left in this plane. Loundit is surprised. Are you serious? Crossing it will take 2 to 3 days, and Ryuaya adds that they will go through poisonous fog. After 35 minutes they see a castle in the middle of the fog. Loundate wonders how a castle can be in the fog. Ryuya wonders why they all followed him together. She says it's just the character of the guild leader. Gnome tells him that he does not want to part with him and will always be nearby. They shout to Ryu again that there are legions there, and he easily deals with them. Deep inside the castle, in the throne room on the upper floor, she still easily breaks through walls. They say that few visit her. Ruya asks her she's supposedly the mistress of the evil spirits that fill this dimension. Loundite notices that I am hiding behind the wall and says that it is some pale person. And this opponent is outraged because putting her on the same level as all kinds of perfumes is rude and offensive to her. She claims to be one of those supreme beings who rule over this world. She is one of the 18 devilish spirits. Her name is Abinion. Ryuya asks her if she could just disappear from these places. She mutters what a disgusting thing that is. Ryuya says that the local evil spirits appeared because of her. She replies that she has no idea. Supposedly, they were simply attracted by her miasma. He says that is exactly why it is such a nuisance for everyone in the district. It would be good if she found refuge somewhere else, as far from the city as possible. But no one agrees, and Ryoya says that she is a higher being, so in his opinion, she is capable of that. She replied that it is not, so she liked it here, so she settled here and asked, do those people do the same? Ryoya replies that maybe they do, but they do not live as long as she does and do not have her power. If she is smart, she might calm her divine pride and yield to them. And Binyan says, since we are talking about arrogance, here is what she will say by the rule that no one has broken since ancient times: the weak obey the strong. She says that the weak, screaming, instantly fall flat and beg for the highest mercy, otherwise death awaits them. There is no other way. Ryoja says that negotiations also have their limits. If he is stronger than her, she will submit to him. Ambanian strictly asks if he understands the situation he is in. She says that this ignorance and even such arrogance deserve a certain death. She will kill him slowly, and he will feel the torments of hell. Both girls are in panic. They say that Lord Ryu wants to fight the boss of evil spirits. Let everyone say what they want, but this is a completely different level, so feels the intuition of an adventurer with over 10 years of experience. Suddenly Ambanian turns to them, and they instantly get scared. She points her finger and tells them not to worry. She will spare them and send them back to the city. They do not understand her. The chief says that in return they will spread the news of this boy's tragic death all over the city. They will become singers who warn others. Ryoja says that he had no doubts she will leave no one alive, so he considered it her kindness. The chief says that it is a matter of efficiency, but he does not know what he is getting into, so that is enough for him. Ryoja says that she is still alive, so warm feelings are felt in her judgments, and she is even somewhat loved. Suddenly she blushed and shouted, what is he doing again? Even if he compliments her, nothing will come of it, in vain. Ryu says that that is why he will not take her life until she completely surrenders. She says that it is still unpleasant. She shouts that no one cared about her, and Ryu with his words only irritates her more. She cries out that before dying she will give him a lecture about the structure of this world, and tells the girls that they will listen. She tells them to listen. There are 3 types of higher beings on Earth. In fact, she is the highest type, a demonic spirit, and there are only 18 of them in the world. Ryuyo raises his hand and reminds her that she already said this when they met, and she shouts irritably that he still doesn't know. She shows records stating that the maximum for people is 99, says that no matter how much you train, the level will not rise above 99 in size. What a pity. Ryu asks her, given this, how are they doing with it? She glows with joy and says it's a good question, then answers that to make them even more desperate, she dares to tear off the leaves one by one. She shows that the demon race reaches level 999, devils maximum 9999, and devilish spirits 99,999, and confidently and proudly tells them that her level is 59,845. No one is surprised that her level is over 10,000. Wondite says that no person can compete with this and that their city is doomed. Ambidian says that she expected such a reaction. She returns to Ryuya and asks how he is. If asked whether he has realized his dwarfism, he says no. He uses his power so that Ambien herself turns away from the light and screams, "What an amazing life energy this is." She feels that her body, the body of the devilish spirit, is evaporating. Londit says she is pallid, it really work. Relia mentally decides that she is essentially the same as those evil spirits, and that life force will neutralize her if it strikes. Embonian says this cannot be. She does not see information about this guy, that is, she does not see his level. Ruya says it's all because of his level 8,347,917. She is in shock. The girls also froze and ask what he said, and he repeats, he has 8 million. Here the boss falls to his knees and shouts that he surrenders and was foolish. He did not know what he was getting into, so he begs for mercy, at least for his life. Rhea asked her if she believed him, and she replied that of course she did, addressing him as Your Majesty, and adding that the way his power surpasses hers chills her to the bone. She continues to say that she humbly apologizes to him for troubling her, but he seems completely unfamiliar with anything like a huge serpent or some natural anomaly. He asks if she means a dragon serpent. She, surprised, asks again if they so lightly break the rules of the universe and just leave, and Ryuya asks what that means. She says that quite recently she claimed, there are 3 types of higher beings on Earth, but besides them there are creatures beyond this world, 8 serpent dragons, 4 dimensions, 2 poles, and they live in unreachable space. Once every few hundred years they suddenly appear and exert such influence that the world is turned upside down. Ryuya thinks to herself that she understands. She, invoking other powers and calling him Majesty, says that he was chosen by the dragon serpent, and humbly asks to forgive the rudeness she showed, promising to do everything necessary. Rivia says that then she should die, and at that moment shudders. She asks if he was scared, he was just joking. Thus, peace finally reigned on the plain, but on the way back a storm of questions overwhelmed him. Londit says that he has an incredibly high level, so they will have to believe it. And no one says that she thought so, that he is an amazing person. For such a strong nature as his, skills do not matter, not at all like with her. She is twisted as they want, but that won't work with him. Ryu was distressed to see despair and an inferiority complex in a person without skills. He even envied, and it was this disappointment that became the impetus for training. Ryuya says that she still considers herself untalented, he just became stronger, and his abilities probably have limits. Now he increasingly relies on those who have great mastery, like her, and asks if she will help him at such a moment. She smiled broadly and said that she would gladly help, thanked him, and added that he has exceptional personal qualities. Ruya sees the boss of evil spirits and asks if she's still here. Wasn't she ordered to move away from here? She says that she has even cleaned up the castle, and Londite says that it really disappeared. Ambien says that this is because the phantom castle is made from a part of herself. Ruya mentally decides that she is indeed cool. He tells her not to bother her anymore. Ambien flies with him, and at some point they look back at her. She shouts loudly that she will be everywhere near His Majesty. He says, look at their faces, that is, the girls. She asks if there are any problems, and they say they know nothing about these plans. Ambien says that evil spirits will come to them, right? If you turn the tap and everything is resolved, that's it, so she won the argument. They started whispering about her appearance, and Binyan says that due to the miasma setting she can freely fly, changing from white to transparent. They ask, but she seems not to hear. She suggests everyone triumphantly return to the city. Ryasha thinks that the very source of their problem says something completely different. Ruya keeps wondering what it will be, a triumphant return, an unexpected twist, or something else. Ambien says that since a vow is made between the master and the servant, she must give him something. He raises his eyes, and she approaches him. No one even blinked, and Londite shouts, what the hell is she doing? Indeed, he has no idea that she is a ghost. Can she really be touched at all? Ambien says that they are now spiritually connected and can share part of each other's feelings, and asks him to look at the girls. Usually you don't see through an opponent stronger than you, but before him everyone is open, as if on the palm of a hand. He truly saw in Nomi the features and skill. The king of alchemists gives him the opportunity to work on alchemy and metal mixing, and also maximizes all effects related to alchemy. Londit, which enhances hearing, makes it sharper, and if you concentrate, hearing can temporarily become even better. Ryuya says he really sees all parameters differently. Both are excited and say it's cool, but at the same time something is frightening. Ambient tells him that she trusted him, and without any doubt he told only those girls about it. This is her modest help, something that cannot be done by muscles alone. She asks with a pitiful, pleading expression if he cannot accept it from someone who brings trouble. Ryuya asks if it is fair that a demonic spirit has such a face, says that she is even on the rise, no one has called her beautiful for a long time. So from the first day after registering as adventurers, they acted heroically and triumphantly returned to the city. A fat man comes out in front of him, someone starts complaining to him about Ryu, and Londate recognizes Dejizu in him. Ryuya instantly sees his characteristics. She is level 24. He has a mighty fist of total destruction, which causes an explosion on impact and deals additional damage to enemies. He asks Ryu if it is true that he has neither skills nor weapons. Revia looks at him and wonders, who is he anyway? Doju says he was good to his younger brother Bari, for this he will have to answer. Bari asks him to kill Ryu, he shouts that he is finished, and now they together with the entire brothers faction will arrange a phantom revenge against him. The younger brother is all in bandages and plasters, with broken limbs. Irritating, the elder Dejizu hits the boy and growls, "Shut up," then points a finger at Ryu and says he will deal with him first. And then he told Londit that she has long been an eyesore to him, so from today he is the master, she must serve him, and he will find how to use her. They return to the city triumphantly, but suddenly something inside the enemy trembles. Energy seems to be leaking from the body. Ambanian indignantly says that this is impossible to listen to, too rude. He asks Ryuya for permission to teach these scoundrels a lesson, but Ryuya refuses and says that this is his personal fight. Dugi is already lying on the floor, all sweaty and trembling. He understands nothing and sees Ambenin. Finally, the case was closed and the Adventurers Guild was cleared of troublemakers. Gnome and Londate, as always, observed the situation from the sidelines. The next day at the Adventurers Guild, Londate says she wants them to take a quest in the dungeon. She warns that they are in trouble, but they do not understand this. Londit says that first of all she should thank them. They cleared the fields for herb gathering and cleaned up after Dejisa and his company. Ryuya says there is nothing special about that. Londite tells him that she raised their guild level, so let them look at the map. Ryuya says they have risen 2 levels, and Ambanian adds not bad. Londite apologizes to Gnome she has not leveled him up yet, but with her skill she can easily raise him to rank C or B. She waves her hands in panic and says everything is fine because Mr. Ryuya contributed more than she did. Ambinian is touched and says how sweet and modest she is. Lundite tells the guys that they are crossing the line, rapidly rising in ranks, and that she is helping them. That is why she said they are in a difficult situation. Rua asks what the problem is. Ambinian says it is an even bigger problem because these are abilities. Londit interrupts her and shouts that it is true those in power will not leave them alone. They will either want to accept them or crush them, and the guild will not be able to protect ranks from F to D. Ambanian says the church, the royal palace, the magic academy, and other organizations, the list of those eager to use them can go on endlessly. If they do not want to be used, they will have to show character. Ryu only has his hands, but if he uses them seriously, he can start a war. A huge power in itself is not evil, but it cannot be used solely for personal gain. He can use it to bring peace. In the background, Lundite tells Ambignin that she knows a lot and boasts. Suddenly Ryua says that she understands. To raise their rank, they need to complete as many tasks as possible, and Londit says that just in case, he will write a recommendation letter on his behalf. After 43 minutes, they find themselves in the kingdom of Centicillion near the dungeon gates, and Naum and Ruya are amazed. They are huge. Dungeon Commander Shiski sternly tells them that this is not allowed, so they need to leave. She says that he is level 17, D rank, and without any skills. Is he really that stupid or blind? She scolds him and asks what they even think in their adventurer guild. He says they have a recommendation letter. She shouts for him to give her that letter, and No AM from behind says that she is scaring her. She reads the letter and whispers that her eyes did not deceive her. It says that these two are strong, so everything is fine. She says that the letter was written by her sister, and at first she did not believe it. Inside the dungeon, Naum, frightened, calls Ryu. He thought as he did Gnome is only level 3, so the dungeon scares her. He asked her to stay close. She says that this is not the point. She was thinking about the material specified in the request. He looks at her and asks if it is true, and she confirms. The guide scolds and orders to stop all chatter. This is not an attraction for lovers. and says that now he will leave them here. Ryuya asks her if those with strong skills get more opportunities in the dungeon, and she smiles, of course. She says that it is unfair. No matter how hard a person tries, everything is decided by strong skill, and nothing can be done about it. Those who have such skill live much richer than others, so it is easier for them to raise their level. Rua quietly thought that she was right. He was sure that many losers would agree with her. She says that they came and that here one can obtain the root. Their first goal is to find the root of miscanthus. No one is surprised that it grows only there. She says she will go to pick it. The woman stops her and says that there is a trap there. She says that the root is the very body of the monster, and when a living creature steps on its territory, it wraps around it and sucks all the blood out of it. She says that an effective option would be a skill that hits the ground and breaks it, causing damage, or a fire skill that sets everything around on fire. Ryuya picks up something and with hope in her voice asks if this is what they are looking for. The woman replies that yes, but says, when it senses danger it must try to escape. Ryu agrees and says that is why he pulled it out so quickly. The woman adds that she did not guess that this one is bigger than the usual miscanthus roots. She had never seen such a giant before. No one even utters a word that this is the root of the dragon miscanthi, and the chance to get it is less than one. Ryuya asks her again if she knows about it, and she answers that she seems to know. Item appraisal is one of the features of the Lord of Alchemy skill, and when she activated it, the quality of the found ingredients jumped just like in the training quest. Their second goal is to find the horn of Kiki. The monster growls at them, and the woman anxiously says that it seems to steal armor as if it were paper. Ryuya, removing the horns from the monster, says, "Is it really so?" She's stunned and exclaims that this is also incredible. She had never seen anything like this. Ryuya asks him what it is, and she answers that it is the best material not only for making armor, but also as an alchemical ingredient, the blade of Kiki. The woman asks if this is again a rare find. She confidently answers yes, and they praise the Lord of Alchemy. Ryuya says that it turns out this ingredient is rarer than they were looking for, and adds that it is the last one remaining. The guide strictly tells them not to dig, saying everything is fine, asks if it is true that only the red sand remains, and warns that it is much more dangerous than those they have already encountered. Ryoja asks her to take them to it, says they completely rely on her, and she only throws back, "Later don't dare say I didn't warn you." Red sand is a soft, valuable mineral from which medicine is made, but once exposed to air it breaks down into various mercury compounds. To protect itself, it attacks any living creature that approaches, so it was also nicknamed the mercury slug. Revia wonders if this means it has become liquid, and worries about how they will drag it to the guild. The guide stops and says it is somewhere nearby. Suddenly a monster emerges. The guide panics and shouts that it really appeared, and there are many of them. Ryoya asks how to defeat it. She, trembling with fear, answers that she doesn't know at all. It is insensitive to physical attacks and also poisonous, probably due to some skill. Even if the poison is the strongest, it won't affect Ryu, which means he has a plan. He tells Noam that he will dive. She understands and complies. Rhea dives straight into the liquid. The guide screams in horror. Did he listen to her? He will die like that. After 2 minutes she freezes and asks if the mercury has stopped moving. Rhea comes out of the liquid. He shows some orb and asks if it is the core. She screams, yes, then asks how he even survived all this. Noam approaches them with a glass of water and says that mercury poisoning accumulates in the body, but she has already made an antidote. The guide, stunned, asks when she managed to do that. Ryoja thanks her but says everything is fine. Noam asks him not to lie to her and just drink it. He insists he is not lying, and the guide still does not understand what is wrong with this boy. Suddenly she hears a voice calling them not to stand still. It's Ambanian. If they do nothing, the core will melt and disappear, and she asks to give it to her. She says that her body is separated from the outside world. There is no air here, not even oxygen. Rivia asks if they are returning. He agrees and says that, as is proper, he did it so easily. They ask if he can pull it out again later. He says it will be a bit annoying, and the guide stays in place and watches them leave. Although he has no abilities, he is strong. She underestimated him and admits it herself. She's sure he will be very happy when he gets 3 rare materials. He still found one good person. She runs after them and asks them to wait and not leave her alone. A week later, the Londite Adventurers Guild exploded with surprise. They are so fast, is it already over? She angrily asks what to do with them and decides to introduce them to the head of the Craftsmen's Guild, Senjui. When they met, Ruya asks Londite what the Craftsmen's Guild is. Senjui sees their loot and asks again if this is the same quest that requires such rare materials that even high-ranking adventurers have to collect for years. Londite says the quest is not yet completed, so he asks them to sit down and explain everything. Ruya wonders to herself, why is there a craftsman representative here? They are asked, which means they need to make something from these materials. Noam says that painkiller, tonic, and red sand are the 3 main ingredients of this potion. Rua does not understand and asks, and Londite says that this is a very strong version of the usual potion. They say it can even restore lost limbs and blood. The client of this quest is the royal palace. Together with the craftsmen's guild, they need to collect materials, make, and deliver at least 10 bottles to the palace. Even the best doctors and alchemists throw up their hands because such an absurd order is impossible to fulfill. Senjui says that it seems the war with demons in the northeast is going badly. Such a potion could only be brewed by a true master of alchemy, but there is no one like that in his guild. If somewhere in the kingdom there was such a person, she would be worth her weight in gold, so as soon as someone receives such an ability during the blessing ceremony, they are immediately hunted. Ryuya looks at Gnome. Senjui says that this mission will have to be cancelled. He feels sorry because they will lose a lot of money. Suddenly Noam asks to wait and says that she will make these potions herself, and Senjui is surprised. He angrily asks who she is and what she's even talking about. She calmly replies that she possesses the skill of the Lord of Alchemy, and he freezes in shock. She says she knows how to make them, so he can rely on her, takes the ingredients, and he is shocked again. Senjui shouts at Landate that there was such a person in her guild, so why didn't she tell him earlier, and Landate calmly replies that he can rely on her. She says that it seems she decided to use her skill herself, and suggests that it is because of Ryu. A week later Gnome says that she finished and made 300 bottles of potions. 3 are shocked and ask if it is really that many. The next day Senjui approaches Gnome and begs her to join the Craftsman's Guild. Ryuya thought to herself, so that's how it all happened. Sentry says that this place is not suitable for her. He insists that being an alchemist is a very honorable profession, especially if she is a master of alchemy. He promises her better conditions and unheard of wealth, so let her join. Gnome confidently says that she refuses, but he does not calm down and keeps asking. She smiled and said that if some assignment appears, she will be ready to complete it. Ryuya thought that she seemed to have become more confident. If the quest helped her grow, then it definitely was not in vain. Sindri says that he will not give up and, by the way, asks for one more thing. He says that no one is hiding. The potions were much more than the royal palace ordered. For such work, she truly deserves praise. Later in the royal palace Centachillion, before the throne hall, Ryuya and Noam say that the king is waiting for them here. King Centachillion Leonard Friedrich Elrich Saul VIII says that they did a wonderful job. Their potions will definitely save the country, and they sincerely thank him. The king says he understands how difficult this trial was. He did not expect anyone to be able to complete it. For such young adventurers, this is a real feat, and he wants to reward them properly. Noam says that they just did everything they could. Ryuya thinks with resentment, if he understood all this and still issued this quest, do circumstances really exist that force issuing such quests? The king extends the Order of the Green Spirit and asks her to accept it. First, he offers to appoint her royal alchemist with full pay. Of course, she will not be able to take orders from other kingdoms, but she will be paid as much as she wants and given everything she desires. Gnome shouts at him, listen to her. He falls silent and the servant bursts out, what rudeness is this? She wants him to understand. These potions require extremely rare materials, and only the one who collected them alone should receive the reward. She shouts that Mr. Ryuya did this. The king asks if this is true. She smiles and replies that this is the purest truth. He asks if he is involved in this, if he is really a craftsman too. Ryuya thinks to herself that she simply did not want to go without him, and he tells the king that he is like a guardian to her. When asked what he means by this, he tells the king everything. The king repeats what he heard. You saved her from the merchant and collected all the materials yourself. The man states his name, and the king, looking at him, says that you must be a very talented person and asks what skill you possess. Ryuya notices that the color of his eyes has changed, says that he has no skill, asks if he is lying to the king, and the king with a stone face replies that he is telling the truth. The king shouts that he will believe. There are people in the world who hide their skills to avoid suffering, but before him is the king, and he must use all the human resources of the kingdom. Hiding your talent from the king is a sin. Ryuya calmly asks if she needs to show the guild card, and he insistently demands to see it. The king looked at the card and, not hiding his shock, said he could not believe it. For the first time he met a man without any skills. Royal Minister Hussein Kamiya turned to the king and said that he was probably lying. Without such a skill he could not have achieved all this. In his opinion, he was just trying to earn trust. He suggests paying attention only to the girl with alchemical skill. Because he himself does not have it, Ryuya is irrelevant, and no one says that by expelling Mr. Rui, they are also expelling her. The minister and the king froze in shock. The minister smiles and says that all this is done for her. Such a chosen lady should not stand next to worthless trash without any skills. In his opinion, people like him are worth nothing. Gnome sticks out his tongue and says that Mr. Rui is her savior, and she does not want to hear anything from someone who speaks ill of him. The minister says, what rudeness. Ambien appears and tells him that was well said. She orders the minister and the king to deliver praise tirades in honor of their lord, threatening punishment if they refuse. At first, she wanted to destroy the entire kingdom, but maybe she will limit herself to just this court. The minister screamed in horror, asking who this pale woman was, and the king was frightened. Ambinian asks Rui for permission, but Rui panicked and waved it off, saying no. The minister orders to seize the ghost, and the guards immediately rush towards them. Forward steps forward and shouts for everyone to freeze. We do not want to fight. Ambient contemptuously calls them small fish and says that hundreds of thousands like them are definitely not her equal. The king asks you, saying he has a servant. He replies that he met her, and she finally says that she fell in love with him. Ambinian tells them that she is the lady of all evil spirits dwelling on earth. She should be called Current, and she serves His Majesty Ryui. They are shocked and ask if he really tamed that walking disaster, and he strangely replies that it just happened that way. The king says that if it's true, then his merits are even greater, but the minister interrupts and warns not to let them deceive him. He says that this phantom woman is only trying to deceive him, and that she is in cahoots with Rulia without skills. Let him think for himself whether he can defeat such a monster. Ambinian called the minister bald and directly asked if he has an empty head gnome, and Ryui are shocked that she said this so openly. Ambinian says directly, unlike them, she sees the power of His Majesty. He was trained under the wing of the great dragon and has a level over 8 million. The king opened his mouth in shock as soon as he heard this level, and the minister smugly said that now everything is clear, it's just a big number that only a child would invent. Ambinian approached him and said that such a fool who thinks only with human knowledge is truly pathetic. She slapped his bald head with her palm and added that he received power from the great dragon, whose level reached 10 million. Then Ambinian flies up and exclaims that it's good that she enlightens these foolish people. Gnome tells her that she is a good girl, and she asks even more joyfully to be praised. The king ordered to bring Lesledzu. The minister raised an eyebrow in surprise, and the king said that if he really has such a high level, then he is even more interested and wants to see his power with his own eyes. He tells about Lesledzu, a son of a noble family who passionately wants to serve his country and will soon become a general. Then he asks if he agrees to fight one-on-one, and he boldly accepts the challenge. Knight Lesledzu comes out in armor and asks if his opponent is really an adventurer. What nonsense is this at such a time? Ryuya thought he might look at the opponent's stats. Before him is a 21-year-old knightess, level 31, able to attack with a holy attribute, and strength increases by 20 for each subordinate under his command. Revia thinks that she is in her early 20s and already level 31, not bad, and then he notes that she is a woman. The knightess says she is not sure if he knows about it, but in battle she does not use her skill, it is too dangerous. Ryuya says that increasing the strength of each subordinate by 20 is a very powerful skill. She asks in shock if he really has the ability to evaluate, and he replies that he does not have such a skill at all. The knight says that this is nonsense, but she clearly sees he is not that simple. She smiles and says that he is right. Her skill grows with each new subordinate. Now there are about 100 people under her command, and even when they do not fight next to her, they still count. She concludes, in other words, her attack is now 20 times stronger. Ryuya says that he is impressed. Knight swings and says that with one blow of monstrous strength he can easily kill him. Now he must understand that it is foolish to use him in ordinary sparring. Ryuya says that everything is fine, so let him use it. The king wants to see his strength. If she does not strike with full force, he will be disappointed. The knight says that he is beginning to think that he himself is trying to offend her. She says she will do as he pleases, so let him try not to die. He strikes, but Ryu stops her huge weapon with one bare hand, and the rest of the knights shout aloud that this is impossible. This blow easily cuts through steel. Some add that he seems completely unskilled, so how is this possible without strong defense? The girls stand and watch, filled with admiration and pride. Knight begins to tremble and wonders how this can be, and Raya replies that he simply shifted his body weight, that's all. The sword broke free. The knight flew back and shouted that this is impossible, that he could counterattack with one blow. He asks if it is permissible to hit a woman. The knight froze in shock and asks if she is a woman. Raya also does not understand her and asks, isn't she a woman? Suddenly the king stops the fight and, shouting enough, declares that he has proven his strength and admits he was telling the truth. And Binyan continues to shout that this is, of course, true. After all, the Lord is the strongest, and the king begins to say that for this reason he has already made a decision. The minister wanted to object, but the king stopped him. He addressed Ryoya and asked if he could again do the impossible. He asks him to set out with Lesledza to the northeast and join the war, even bowing his head before him. Their enemies are demons, so he asks him to save their kingdom, because the hero must stand against this threat. There are more than 72 types of demons in the world. They are divided by strength. From soldier class to demon king, the maximum level is 999. Humans can still defeat soldier or knight-ranked demons, but cannot overcome high-ranked demons. A demon with swampy skin says that he can no longer wait. It is time to rejoice again in the screams of people. A multitude of demons threatens humanity. Only by uniting can humanity fight back. Ryoya will challenge the demons in a decisive battle. To win one fist is enough, no skills are needed, but that does not make his strength any less. In a few hours in the northeast of Santa Aquilia. At the front line, the knight sees the victims and says in shock, "This cannot be, it was a real massacre, terrible." They say there were 6,000 men at the front line, and another 1,000 at the last line of defense, but it seems everything is going badly. Knight approaches the general and asks if it was him because the potion should have already been delivered, right? The senior commander says it was delivered, but his assistant stands beside him. He finished his thought and said that everything has already been used. Knight froze in shock. The senior commander says that demon attacks suddenly became much fiercer. Their forces were insufficient, so they had to use all the potions. He apologizes for this. Ryuya thinks to herself that they are still in such a miserable state. Knight trembles and says that this is such a bloody massacre, and she shouts, "Stop." She says that she will personally cut off this demon's hand. Ambinian asks her if she knows that he will easily regrow it. Did she not know that? Then no one runs up and orders them to retreat and disperse. She begins to help the wounded. Gnome orders Ambinian to take everything. Ambinian says she understands, and Gnome adds that she will prepare the potion first. She glows with joy and says that she received a bunch of materials and various tools from the king, so now she will prepare even more potions. The senior commander is stunned. She confidently says that she can do it. She is a master of alchemy, and all the knights and soldiers look at her simultaneously surprised and admiring. Gnome asks if everyone heard her, orders the potions to be given first to the most seriously wounded. They thank her and say she saved them. Despair turned into hope. They shout to save the seriously wounded first. Even those who are dying can still be saved. The wounded have a light in their eyes. Ambinian says that Noam is a brave girl because she dares to use this as a storage for things. It reminds her of someone, and Ryui says that Londit said the same. Rua stands up and thinks that he also wants to help somehow. He returns to Ambinian and asks, she can extract energy, but can she do it the other way around? The wounded watch and wonder what kind of fog this is. They give themselves to the energy. The doctor shouts that they are getting better, and they are not sure whether this is true healing. Ambinian gives his life force so that their recovery is enhanced. Ruya, holding him in her arms, asks if it is really necessary to carry him like that. She replies that there is no other way. Their first task is to heal everyone so that he can reduce the number of deaths to a minimum. In an hour they are sincerely thanked and told that without their help thousands of people would have died. The knight bows to them and whispers that this is an incredible feat. She guarantees that the rumor will reach His Majesty. She takes off her helmet and all the knights freeze in shock, asking if she is sure she is worth it. Ambinian says that she did not take off the helmet because she thought she looked bad, but let them better look at this beauty. The knight announced to everyone that they saved many soldiers. It is rude to thank them without removing her helmet. She must show them proper respect, and she decided so. The knight asks the soldier about the demon's movements. She is told that they are retreating, as if playing with them, but will definitely attack again. She asks, are they laughing at us? And reports to the general that the royal order has been given. They opened the paper and were stunned. The knight says that she was finally given full command. From now on she is the commander-in-chief. He tells Ruya that he still remembers what abilities she has. He thought to himself, her skill is Sesei Hido Kyuzin. His power increases by 20 for each subordinate, and he also has no power limit. The knight decisively says that all 7,000 soldiers will become her strength. This is their trump card in this war. The senior commander asks to wait. It's not that simple. Will her body withstand it? He says that if there are 7,000 soldiers, the power will jump. He falls silent. His son suggests that the power will increase 1,400 times. He agreed and warned that skills have consequences when used at the moment of impact. Her body might simply not endure. She replied that she is ready. Oh, he is a knight, and a knight fully dedicates himself to the defense of the kingdom. If there is a chance to avert a threat to the kingdom, he will give his life without hesitation. The final decision is still hers. She can use it only in a critical situation. Besides, Ryuya and Gnome have saved so many people. She firmly declares that she will not let them die here. Revia thinks to herself that it is precisely because of this that she is ready to rush into danger. The knight says that as soon as the battle begins, they need to find a safe place to avoid her attack. They will have only one attempt. Everyone is scared. The senior female commander with tears in her eyes says with what determination she is ready to act. Other soldiers also cry and insist that she is ready to do it for them, for the kingdom, and Ryoya raises his hand and asks for forgiveness. He says that, of course, he has nothing against her strategy, but he cannot take part in it. The knight tells him that he has already saved so many lives that is quite enough. Then Ryo says that he will go there, and they are confused, asking what he means by that. Ryuya stands in the darkness and asks if he is sure, if he really believes that it will work. Ryuya answers yes, then she will be able to use her skill, and he will take the entire blow upon himself, and she says that this means he is sure. The senior commander sharply asks what is going on here because everything looks strange. A soldier replies that this is Mr. Ryoya, so it must be something important, and another agrees with him. The knight asks again if he is sure he can endure. What if the body cannot endure? Ryoya says he thinks giving his life to save a beautiful girl would be a good idea. She asks angrily and discontentedly what it means. He says not to pay attention. She replies that she understood, so she ignores him. Ryo says that he just wanted to support her, not for himself. In that sword lives the determination of 7,000 of her soldiers. They laid down their lives for her skill. Only this way will they make her stronger. In this battle they will suffer no losses, for her ability will bring them victory. Rhea confidently says that she is the one who should play the main role. The king asked him. He remembers how the king gave her an envelope and asked her not to say a word to him. He wrote this secretly from her. The knight gets distracted and asks about the king. Rhea says they are coming. The ground trembles from their stomping. A huge army of demons is approaching them, and they are shocked. Abinion from above says there are about 30,000 of them. The chief demon laughs ominously and says that while they are dying like flies, he meanwhile was gathering a giant army. He shouted to show them how they would flutter in death and laughed again. The knight whispers, "These are what demons are like." Ryoya asks why he has such an irritable voice and shouts at them again that they are miserable insects. Bunyan called the chief demon. He introduced himself. He is the Viscount of Demons, and Abadian said with disappointment that he is just a Viscount. Rivyak says for people he is truly a strong opponent as befits a devilish spirit. Ryu replies that he doesn't care then. He tells Leslets that the goals are changing. They attack the leader. She asks if he is sure. Abinian tells him that it is a wise decision. At first he will be killed, the rest will flee. They will take him out of the mountain and that's it. Abinian says what a devilish spirit it is, more like an ordinary ghost. Night begins to doubt. Her sword starts to glow. She says they will have only one chance, and if she, Rhea, comforts her, she will endure. He says that he is right there, and Night seems to swallow from excitement. Ryoya gives the order. Night explodes with a scream. Let it be what it will be. They attack the army. A huge explosion sounds, and everything glows brightly. The demons freeze in shock at what is happening. The soldiers are shocked and say that it was an explosion as expected from the lady, the unpraised Lesda. The knight herself coughs and lies in agony. Rhea asks if she is alive, and she replies that the recoil was terrible, but they hit the main part of their army, so her whole body hurts and she doesn't have strength for a second time. Rhea says that it is normal. Knight opens his eyes. Ryua calls Gnome. She runs, gives her exactly that potion and orders her to drink it to the bottom, so much that she chokes. Knight gets up and is amazed she has completely recovered. Gnome pulls out a box and says that she still has many of them. Ryuya pulls her by the hand and tells her to prepare for the second strike. She gets up with surprise. She panics, shouts to him, "Don't move, wait," and adds that even if all her broken bones heal and the wounds close, it still hurts to use this skill again and again. Rua sternly tells her to prepare again for the second strike and adds that he completely ignored it. She gets up, gathers strength and strikes, then falls again and screams again how painful it is. They pour potion into her mouth again. She swallows quickly, and Ryuya says it's wonderful, so let him strike a third time. She strikes again, then falls, is given potion, gets up, strikes again, drinks potion, and so again and again. Ambidian says she could destroy these 30,000 demons with one blow, so why bother? She really asks again, why bother? He replies that it was a human battle, not hers, but it was the kingdom's army that had to gather and repel the demonic threat, and it was her skill that allowed them to do it. Someone raises a hand. Ryuya begins to say they are done here. The demon Viscount stands up and angrily asks what kind of skill that was, and Ryuya says the survivor got out. The demon calls them vile people. Their skills annoy him terribly. Ryuya asks if he is going to run away, but the demon, smiling, says he is in a good mood and calls him a bug. He jumped up and shouted that he could still have fun because killing people is the best amusement. He landed next to Ryuya and said he would be his rival, to which Ryuya replied that he would entertain him. The demon laughs mockingly and calls Ryu a fool, exactly what everyone expected, and then says his death will be pathetic. Demon Viscount asks him if he thinks it will be easier to deal with him than with 30,000 demons. He says that he is so pathetic and stupid that he does not even realize it, and declares that he will take great pleasure in killing them, these lower beings who will die suffering the torments of hell. Ryuya sees his characteristics, and the true power of the titular demons emerges. Benian is not just high level, he also has many skills for an ordinary person. He is a truly serious opponent. Bunyan constantly rattles on that if he wanted, he would have killed them all with his own hands, not leaving a drop of blood. Does he really think these demons were so necessary? Now it's the end for them. He doesn't even suspect that he and his comrades will become toys in someone's hands. Ryuya interrupts him and says he is talkative. Benyon stretches out his hands to attack and coldly says, "Let it be as he wishes will be the first to die," after which he attacks with an acid fog. Soldiers shout that it is deadly, so they retreat. Ben just shouts that this is the true power of demons, a multitude of abilities. He keeps shouting that there is such a huge difference in strength between humans and demons. Aren't they going to surrender? He constantly calls them pathetic. Ryuya is making his way through the fog and says that nothing is visible. He thinks that if the fog does not clear, the soldiers may suffer, and then he will have to act. He calls Bunyan and says that everything will be as he wishes. Suddenly a huge explosion, the demon froze in shock. He shouts, "What is this white fog? Could his acid fog really be blocked? It can't be after all, this is his power." And Bunyan sharply interrupts, "Do you really think your power is stronger than the spirit of the devil?" and says he very much doubts it. She looks at Bunyan with contempt and calls him a demon. He trembles with fear and does not understand where that devilish spirit came from within him. He quickly realizes that the devil spirit's abilities surpass even the strongest demons, but he himself considers it nonsense. How did she end up here? Why is she joining forces with humans? He repeats again that it's nonsense, and Ambinians irritably snaps. How many more words? She won't give up everything, will she? She smiles and says she obeys the stronger one. That's Alicent at madness. Bunyan is shocked and does not believe these words. He asks again if the spirit of the devil can obey a person stronger than it, as if he himself believes it, and Ambient calmly replies that he will soon see everything himself. And then Rhea emerges from the fog, coughs, and says that he finally got out. He is a little confused. He tells Amnion that he was a bit surprised when he started seeing her through his eyes. She replies with a smirk that he probably wants her to check if all the soldiers are safe-ish already did that, and then asks what is wrong with his face. Ryoya strokes her head, thanks her for fulfilling his request, and she smiles, saying, "What a wonderful feeling this is." Banyan shouts that it is impossible. Acid rain 500 times stronger than normal acid. It is impossible to survive in it, let alone remain unharmed. How did this happen? Ryoja says that he just has very high vitality and defense, and the demon does not understand at all what he is talking about. He asks him, "Who are you, and are you even a man?" He answers simply, "Yes, I am an ordinary man." Then he says, does he know that he does not like to kill? But the demon above looks at people and sees nothing wrong with killing, so Bunyan asks, "And what of it?" Revia suddenly lunged and found himself right in front of the demon's face, saying that he would have to kill him. Ryuja hits him with his fist. He falls back, half of his head burned. Bunyan begins to stammer angrily, threatening to kill him, and saying that he has high regeneration. Rhea continues to strike, pondering what else can be done to him. The demon at this moment cannot believe his eyes at this pace. This man will manage to recover. He wonders if he will simply disappear forever as an ordinary person. Later, Ruya hears that this is a wonderful job and replies to Ambinion that it is all thanks to her. Soldiers run out shouting that the sky has cleared again. It means it is the lady and Ruya, and they see them. Ruya walks holding the knight in her arms and says that they have won. The soldiers rejoice that the lady has returned to them and everything is fine. Finally victory, and someone orders to open the gates. The knight calls Ryu. She turns around and quietly asks, "I can get up by myself, let me go, I'm a little embarrassed." Ryuya asks her not to overdo it, and Binyan says that if he carried her like that, she would only be happy, and another agrees that she would be in seventh heaven. Ryuya asks to listen to a Binyan. She immediately says she is not against it at all, and he sternly adds that he is not joking. In a few hours in the kingdom of Centakilian on Triumphal Street, all the people loudly shout and rejoice at the return of the heroes. Revia asks if it is not too much. The knight replies, "What nonsense, they easily defeated the demon army, so of course they are happy." People shout, "Long live the kingdom, long live the king, this is a great victory." The king gladly welcomes them back and says he has already received the report. His cheeks have reddened and are burning. He says with enthusiasm that he wants to hear everything from the participants of the battle. Let them start telling, and no one even thinks about how lucky he is. The knight says that after the first demon attack she was in a terrible state, but when they arrived, replenished the potion supplies, and healed the entire army. He is surprised. She continued, in the next battle the demon lord brought with him 30,000 demons, but without any help from M and Ryu's they were all exterminated, no losses, and the king's eyes shone even brighter. He was still into all of this. The king asks what is the matter with his skill, could it harm her? She answers that yes, it is true. She tells him that she survived thanks to Noam and Ryu. Noam thinks to himself, what a look he has. The knight says that first and foremost the main credit for the victory over the demons belongs to Ryu, and she wants him to receive the highest award. The knight looked at Ryu, and Ryu met his gaze. The king says that perhaps Ryu was sent to them by God himself. Ryu says yes, says no, he would not have won this victory without all his subjects. The king says he is about to cry, then he asks why not make them all aristocrats. Then the minister comes out and asks if he is sure where have they seen common people become aristocrats, and Ryu without any skill at that. The king clicks his tongue and threateningly says that he is already tired of this one. Ryu and Noam froze, seeing the enraged king. The minister says that his gratitude is enough for such common people, and honestly, that is even too much for them. The king looks threateningly at him and says these are loud words. He shouts for everyone to listen. The king must rule the kingdom and help his subjects, and this time the kingdom was saved by Ryu, so he fulfilled his duty, and the title of aristocrat is only the smallest reward awaiting him ahead, and the minister trembles with fear. The king says to Ryuya, we will decide the house name later, first we need to know if you agree to become an aristocrat. Ryuya awkwardly mumbles something in response, and the king smiles. I like you, I want you to continue serving me. The king is already pleading with him. Ryuya does not understand what these expressions on their faces are, and how can he refuse when even the knight looks at him like that? The minister shouts at them to slow down. At night the king irritably and simultaneously asks what happened this time, and Ryuya thinks to herself that he is loud. The minister says he just learned about the arrival of an important guest, so first he must be honored, and only then will decisions be made. When asked who it is about, he says a hero has come. Ryuya does not understand what a hero is. The knight is also surprised, does he not know this? She says that a hero is one chosen by the church. The church tests people's abilities and accepts the strongest into its ranks. This is the elite selection, the best fighters and heroes who serve it with faith and truth. Ryuya thinks this means they are puppets of the church. Lundite had already mentioned them. He looks at the knight and sees open hatred on her face. But why? A man runs up and says that the desperate, brave Libra has arrived to save the kingdom. The minister applauds him, and everyone else freezes in complete shock. The king asks whom he is to save him from. He laughs and says that in his kingdom there are no constant demon attacks. He smugly says that this is exactly why he came. Now they can sleep peacefully, such a strong hero as he will stop the demon attacks, and without any problems he suggests holding a festive banquet in honor of his arrival. Rua looks at him and says that he is so noisy and keeps waving his hands. She tries to remember his name. Suddenly he remembers he is Libra, one of those who received a powerful skill and then abandoned it. Could this really be the same Libra? Leber keeps shouting that his power will bring order. Finally, everyone will see his greatness. He is confident he will manage without any doubt, and the king looks and says he can't even get a word in. Libra says that a ballad will be composed about his victory, and as a reward he will receive a beautiful princess, even if the backside of Zahide learns about him. Rhea begins to call him, and he rudely asks, who are you? Why did you decide that you can just call me by my name? Rio says that it is him. Another insists that he has no idea, and suddenly realizes asked if it really is Rio. What will this meeting bring? The king asks Rui, do you know this hero? Rui answers, we were once friends. Liber, stunned, what is he even talking about? I don't understand at all. He wonders how such a hero as himself can have a friend without abilities. It's sad, but he really knows him. He asks why he is here. Shouldn't a person like Ryu be in the trash heap? Ryu thinks about the contempt in Liber's eyes. He says it's true, he should leave. He keeps thinking about that look of disdain. Liber turned to the king and said, maybe we should finally get down to urgent matters. The king asked again, what are you talking about? At first Liber hesitates and tells them to stop pretending, because in their kingdom there is a demon army and the church sent him the brave Liber. The king understands and says that priests and heroes who possess the most powerful abilities must fight demons and can ask for help, and Liber confirms that's true. The king says that since demons appeared, he has asked for help again and again, and the church still ignores him. Ryo asks the knight if this is true. She confirms. The church's holy magic is very effective against demons. Only priests can handle it, and he is completely silent about the hero's abilities. The church has seized all means of fighting demons, so they send a demand to pay for the work. They literally suck money from kingdoms all over the world, and the king says that this is a shop of greedy swindlers. Liber asks to wait. He has arrived, and the church helps many kingdoms, so it cannot immediately respond to his request. The king bangs on the table and says what that means, they have priorities too. The king says that even a moment's delay can cost people their lives. His kingdom gives huge piles of gold to the church every year, so it seems next time he should think thrice before making a donation. Libra says that he is not the only one making donations, and he keeps his word. He does not want to lose these donations, but asks him to just think about it. He raises his head and says that he is the hero Labor and can marry Princess Leslades. Ryu turns around and reproachfully tells the knight that he called him a princess, and Gnome adds that suddenly it has become cold here. The king asks if he really wants him to give him the princess to save the kingdom. Labor says the church's guardianship will come in handy for him, and the king must protect his kingdom. The king says these are interesting words and asks if it is a threat. Libra smiles ominously. Ruyo looks at this and thinks it is terrible, maybe he should intervene, but then changes his mind and says it is still too early. Libra laughs madly and shouts that he is waiting for an answer. In a commanding tone demands to give him the princess and says that peace will reign in the kingdom, moreover, it will come here. The king shouts that this will never happen, throws an object at him, he dodges, and the king finishes his speech shouting that Rai will come. The king says it is better to be under the rule of demons than under the rule of people like him, and threateningly refuses. Leber is outraged. What nonsense, let him come to his senses. The king says this is no joke, didn't he notice what mood everyone was in? He tells them that the demons have already been defeated, the kingdom saved, so they can do without him. Liber asks if that wasn't a welcoming parade in honor of his arrival. He even waved to them. The king throws in his face what a fool he is and how inflated his ego is, sends him away, and says he will no longer speak to someone like him. He tells Liber, tell the church that his kingdom is seceding, and they will no longer receive a single penny from him. Ryuya says he is very angry, and the knight seems to agree with him. Liber asks the king to wait, says he can't believe it, that he is just bargaining, and then offers to negotiate. The king coldly replies that he doesn't care what he doesn't believe in. Liber stammers and asks to say who then dealt with the demons, who it was. The minister asks Liber to calm down and says it's hard to believe, but the demons were dealt with by a man without any skills. He points his finger at Ryu. Liber, shocked, repeats his name, grabs him by the shoulders, shakes him and asks to tell the truth. It's a lie, that he is hiding something, and he calmly says nothing of the sort. Liber shouts that he is good for nothing, without any skills, just an outcast, because he was supposed to deal with the demons. Gnome comes out and slaps Liber so hard that he just flies away in shock. Ryu looks questioningly at Gnome's confident expression. No one tells Liber to shut up, and she will not allow such a coward as him to say such things about Mr. Ryu. She says that almost everyone present personally saw how he defeated the demons, and Knight Commander Z loudly shouts from behind that it's true and swears by his knight honor. Gnome says that he is a real coward because he humiliated the one who was fighting while he himself was relaxing and hiding, so he is leaving. Liber calls Noah a pig, a pathetic girl and ill-mannered, and shouts that she will kill her for insulting the hero because that is punishable by death. Ambient comes out and says that only Libera is ill-mannered here, and some kind of fog begins to spread. He got scared and asks what kind of fog this is, and Binyan looked at Gnome and said that she said everything correctly and that she is a good girl. Liber raises his head and asks where this ghost came from. Ambanian says that he is a real clown. She says that although he is funny, it is time for him to go. The fog envelops the boy and twists him upwards. He rises with a scream. Ryuya said that he could have done it himself, and Binyan asked why bother and waste energy on such a thing. The king called the minister and he got scared. The king says that now the whole festive atmosphere is spoiled because the minister usually negotiates with the church. This is all too suspicious. Maybe he was bribed, so it needs to be checked. The minister bows and says that nothing of the sort. The king says that for now he will think over his next appointment, and in the meantime let him wait and prepare. He suggests going down, wants to discuss something with Ruya. Ruya asks Know Him, Ambanian, why they are here, because the king wanted to talk to him. Know Him replies that they are always beside him. Ambanian says that they are one with him. The knight approaches and asks for forgiveness because she was hiding behind their backs while the hero was saying bad things about him. Ryuya tells him to forget it. Revia says that Liber aimed exactly at her. He does not believe that the king wanted her to interfere and asks the king if it is true. The king says that, as the hero said, Lesledzi is a princess and she is his fourth daughter. Rhea tells him that he got scared. The king insists that the continuation of the royal line is extremely important, while in the shadows the knight addresses Ambinian. In what sense is he afraid? What is he talking about? To which Ambinian replies that she has no idea whether she has any thoughts. The king says that Lesledza is special. She was born from the woman he loved with all his heart. Roydza thought to himself, this is not a political marriage, but a marriage of love. Then it is truly a serious matter. The king ironically says that her mother is of low birth and no one will support Ledza, so she cannot inherit the throne. Ryuya asks if he really decided to give her to him that night, and he answers that it is absolutely true. The king did everything to take her as far away as possible from the royal family's problems. She wanted her to find her happiness. At least that was what the father wished. The king says that suddenly a church appeared here, no one knows from where, but it turned out that it is most likely a princess. Through marriage, the church wants to interfere in their affairs, and judging by the character of this hero, he is unlikely to give up so easily. Ryuya asks if they were not going to agree. Wasn't that why he so desperately wanted to defeat the demons on his own? The king replied that, of course, he was not allowed to use listlets as a political tool. So he wants to make Ryu, an aristocrat, want him to become her ally. The king asks him to think about it. After some time, Ryo walks beside Gnome and says that he was given time to think, but what should he ultimately do? Suddenly someone calls him. It's Liber. He says there's a conversation here and asks if he really returned. Liber says they will talk alone. No, him immediately objects and insists that he probably has something sneaky planned, and Ruya smiles, seeing how No him stands up for him. Ryoya raises his head and asks Mbinyan to watch over Gnome, who keeps insisting that something suspicious is going on here. Mbinyan smiles and says to him, "Trust me." In the kingdom of Centicillion, beyond the western tower, on the way Liber kept saying he misses their measured life, then shrugged it off and said he doesn't want to remember that miserable life. He says with an evil smile that he was lucky at the ceremony, he mastered a valuable skill. Liber looks at him smugly and with a smile says he looks like an abandoned dog. Ruya does not react to his words and asks about Kridrod and Zeta, and he answers that he has no idea. He was immediately sent to hero training, where they prepare to fight demons. The weak are eliminated here, but Liber survived such a selection. He says, "Cool, isn't it how an ordinary guy became a hero?" and is confident that thanks to his skill and success he is now capable of anything. He raises his head and asks, "Isn't it true that the best deserves the best, so why not him?" He suddenly grabs Ryu by the shoulders and insists that he talk to Princess Liza. He is on good terms with the king, but hasn't even seen the princess yet and doesn't know what she looks like. And if she is unattractive, he is ready to endure it. Ryoya finally understood everything himself. This is why he behaved that way in front of her. Now he remembers that he asked, so this is his goal. Ryoya has already met people who were proud of their skills, but Liber is a completely different matter, because he has never been like that before. Liber asks you if you will help him and perceives it as, some useless person without skills will help the hero, and that's great. Ryoya asks why he treats people like things. He says he is trying to fill his empty life with some meaning. For the princess, this will be a plus when he marries her. He gets rid of the rest of the king's children and the job is done. Then he adds that the little one who runs after him everywhere has the skills of a lord alchemist, so he decides to take her along. Ryoya is silent, but Libra cannot calm down. He says there are few like her in the church, so she will be useful, although she hid him, so he will have to teach her manners first. Then he remembers Mbinyan, calls her a ghost girl and says she seems useless but beautiful. Ryoya looks seriously and threateningly at Liber and asks what he is talking about. He does not calm down and says that even someone like him can be useful, so let him rejoice, he will help him. Revere thinks in just 5 years he has changed so much that he no longer knows if it is because of the training center can a person really change so drastically. Ryoya says how mean he is. Although he was poor but honest, as soon as he gained skills his eyes became clouded. How did that happen? Liber is stunned and does not understand what he is saying. He stammers and says he has no abilities, or is he really that stupid? Liber starts laughing madly and says he understands nothing at all, that he is unworthy to live, and Ryoya continues to look at him, surprised. Liber got angry and shouted at him not to look down on him, and threatened to kill him. He missed and flew further. Ryoya thought he was aiming at his neck and wanted to kill him. Liber asks what that was, whether it broke, and Ruja replies that Liber himself should say what that ambush was like. Liber laughs again and says that now he understands why he is so cheeky. Ryoya wonders, did this hero really understand everything? Liber says that he clearly has some powerful ability, and Ryoya thought to himself that this was amiss. He continues babbling that it turns out skills can be acquired even without a church ritual. Apparently he has an ability that sharply increases defense, some kind of body strengthening skill, but Ryo says no, doesn't listen, and declares that he recognizes him as his opponent. Libra says that his strongest and most versatile skill is the ability to become a hero. Ryoya will understand that this skill is just a joke, and mentally tells himself that Libra is just talking for now. Ryoya sees his stats, temporarily takes the enemy's skill and uses it as if it were his own. For the one whose skill was stolen, it becomes unavailable. There is a limitation: you cannot steal from several at once. All stolen skills work only temporarily. Ryoya thought to himself, could even such a vile skill be sanctified by the church? Libra says that he is curious what ability he has, and adds that he will show everything now, but Ryoya only replies that he is not very interested, he already knows everything anyway. Liber still claims that he can steal others' skills and make them his own. Ryoya wonders to himself whether he will take his power, and all this is a bit confusing. Liber says that he is the strongest no matter how strong the opponent is. Thanks to his skills, he will always be stronger. He tells Ryu that he also will not be able to use his skill while it is with him, so his opponents will fall into despair. Ryoya says that this is more like the skill of a cunning thief than the skill of a hero. Another shouts at him, shut up, because only the winner is always right. He raises his hand and activates the stealing skill, as if penetrating Ryu's soul, but the process suddenly breaks off and silence falls around. Liber says that the theft is complete now that the skill fully belongs to him. He strikes it. Rivia easily deflects the blow behind him, and he flies away, falling to the ground, covered in wounds and bruises. He trembles and does not understand what it was. Only his skill has become stronger, but the body has not strengthened. Ryuya says maybe he himself should take a look. He glanced and shouted, "I don't believe it, his skill did not work, he is in standby mode." Ryuya puts his hand on Liber's shoulder and says that he cannot just appear out of nowhere. Approaching closer, he adds that he understands this very well himself. Ryo simply picks him up and throws him against the wall. He raises his eyes and does not understand what kind of power this is. He realizes that Ryuya is already nearby and cannot comprehend when he managed it. Does he not only have a strong body and physical strength, but also incredible speed? Ryuya strikes the wall, a huge hole bursts in it, and Libra screams in fear and trembles. He constantly says it's impossible how much his skill enhances physical abilities, and Ryuya simply replies that he doesn't have any skill at all. He shouts again that now he understands everything. Rhea asks if they really understood everything down to the smallest detail. Labor says he heard about such a thing. Sometimes the strongest skills simply neutralize the effect of others, so his theft did not work. Rhea says again that he told him, but he does not listen, only laughs and says that it seems he has acquired a decent skill. He shouts that it is wonderful and amazing that he will definitely acquire this skill. He asks him to use his ace up his sleeve. Ryu still does not understand what this ace up the sleeve is. He says he will explain everything now. Libra babbles again that he can sacrifice his skill to make it permanent. This is a top-level operation applied only once in a lifetime, and Ryuya recalled that something similar was written in the description. Liber says that he will take his skill away forever, and this is called complete deprivation. He is happy finally able to get the strongest skill he had been waiting for. Could such a powerful force have been right in front of him? Funny, he reaches out his hand again and says, "Accept," activating the ultimate skill. He uses it once more, nothing happens. Swinging again, he sadly says, "It's a pity I didn't realize its value earlier," and says goodbye to it. Ryuya simply hits him in the stomach. He jumps up and coughs. Ryuya tells him to listen to him and now look at his parameters. Leber now sees that he has no skill at all. He panics and shouts about it, and Ryu thinks this means his victory and continues shouting to cancel. He cries and shouts that this is a dream, a nightmare. Ryuya, irritated, hits him in the face. He falls and loses consciousness. Ryuya exhales and thinks that it was strange. A friend turned out to be an enemy. Hero Liber lost his skill and was finally expelled from the church, while Rei was informed that he must compensate for the damage to the destroyed wall. The king tells him that it is not necessary, so he should not worry, they will fix everything themselves. Ryuya thanks them. The king says that this overly confident fool believed so much in his powers, but in the end lost them. Revia mentally even feels a little sorry for him, though he deserved it, and now he shouts that Mr. Revia is not guilty of anything and that the hero himself is to blame. He was the first to attack him, started making demands and attacked again, so he is the real criminal. The king says that Liber is just a fool who doesn't know his place, and Mbinyan says that then she laughed heartily. Of course Ryu was called here, so he directly asks Noah, Main, and Vinyan. After all, they needed to return home. They say they watched from afar because a girl's heart is made that way, and meeting her is no exception, but Ruja wonders what kind of girl's heart she's even talking about. Mbinian said that since they saw everything, they had to tell this arrogant old man all the details, and she did manage to explain to him that they were not to blame. The king says that there was no need to call him an arrogant old man. Rivlia silently apologizes for her. The king says when it comes to self-defense, testimony from only relatives is hardly enough. The church will say this loudly, and let them not forget that they grew up stepping over others' heads. Mbinian says there is nothing to worry about if they challenge the master. He will easily defeat them. Ryuya mentally decides that it is still too early to kill them. Ryoja wants everything to go peacefully, but of course, he is not going to make big concessions. Moreover, he is sure that they will probably try to blacken him, since he clearly attracted their attention. In the background, workers were patching the wall that Ryuya had destroyed. One holds a brick and says the sun is still high. Another pulls a brick to him and offers a snack. The king said that only the church can oppose demons, and the fact that Ryuya defeated one of their heroes and thus greatly shook their authority makes this inevitable, and Ryuya quietly replied, "Then everything is bad." Ryuya does not want to interfere and does not seek to make peace with the church. The king just laughed and said that, of course, his kingdom will do everything possible to support him, and he will do everything he can to repay. Binion asks him if helping just from the heart will be enough. He answers, of course. She asks again if there are no hidden motives. He firmly says, none. And then in a calm voice he says that as a simple adventurer, he will not be able to stand up for himself. Ruya asks again. Ambanian only slightly smiles. The king says he will ask him once more if he wants to become a nobleman of his kingdom. Ryuya thought to himself that they are back to their old ways. He also believes that there are clearly hidden motives here and trusts that he will feel comfortable receiving so many privileges. The king tells him that it seems he will not accept his offer and apologizes. The king falls into a chair and sighs. Well then, what else can he do? He will not force him, but if everything remains as it is, the church will start to act. Ambanian says there is no need to worry if it comes to that. The master will simply wipe the church off the face of the earth, and Ryoya irritably thinks that she is back to her old ways. Rhea is confident that no one can compare to either him or Ambanian, so she is not worried at all. Her sense of self-preservation has dulled. The king asks, and what about Lislets? He never knows exactly when the next hero will come and say the same thing. Ambanian raises her hand and says she has a wonderful idea. Her life is much longer than a short human one, so wisdom suggests amazing thoughts to her, and she jumps into the king's embrace. Ruya thinks to himself, this is modesty. Ambanian says let Ruya marry the young princess. Ruya looks at her in shock. A new quest appeared, a wedding. You must swear an oath before God and become spouses. Ambanian says this is the perfect plan that will solve all their problems. It's easier than easy, and Ryoya thinks to himself that this is not the case at all. The king says that this might work. Ryuya does not understand and asks again, what are you talking about? The king explains that he himself must decide. The church's goal is marriage with the princess, and all efforts are aimed at bringing a person into the royal family. This is possible as long as they are not married. Ryuya believes this is true. A person can bind their life forever to only one partner, because the church commands it so. Ambinian says that here will appear a gentleman who will oppose the church's attacks. The kingdom's support is needed. Without it, no way, and only the one supported by the people can marry the princess. The king thought deeply. Ryoya mentally tells himself that by nature he is a pacifist. If this helps avoid problems, then it is better to do so. And then he realizes he does not want to become an aristocrat at all, so he accepts this decision. Ambinian says that aristocrats are not only the king's relatives. She whispers to Ryoya, let him just think about it. She says that he will become a direct relative of the king. Why shouldn't he become the king's son-in-law? The king says that this is true. If Ruya marries the princess, he will become the king's son-in-law and will be able to fully enjoy his power. Ryoya says that he will still remain an aristocrat, and the king replies that this way he will become a member of the royal family, and this is not the same as simply giving the title of aristocrat. The king rejoices and says that Ruya will take a position higher than any aristocrat. Ryuya thinks he is right, and the family connection with the king is a strong support. The king says to Amnion that she is so calculating and cunning, a true genius, a ghost girl. Amnion says that she is not a ghost at all and calls him stupid, and Ryuya thinks to himself that they have understood each other. Then he begins to think that this is unacceptable, and if it continues like this they will defeat him. He tells them to stop, and they ask what is going on here. He yells at them, pointing his finger for them to stop deciding for him. No matter how successful this option is, without the most important thing they still won't be able to see it through to the end. They ask in complete confusion, what is the most important? And he irritably asks again, do you really not understand this? He explains that first and foremost marriage is two people who love each other and plan a shared future. Mannion asks what the matter is. Isn't he interested in this night girl? He awkwardly says he didn't mean that. Lesledza is very sweet and attractive. She is dear to him. Then Mannion boldly approaches him and looks at him. He is nervous and says she is too close. Ryuya thinks that everyone is trying to marry her, but to prevent this, he will have to marry her, and he thinks this is nonsense. Ryuya anxiously asks the king, didn't you yourself say that you want her to marry the one she loves? He awkwardly replies that something like that did happen. The king shouts that this is not a political marriage. He will decide so if Ryoya is with her, because her feelings are more important. He says seriously, no matter what they come up with, there will be no wedding if she does not love him. Then he thinks that he has said everything, and the fact that he is king no longer matters in marriage. The most important thing is not status or benefit, but love for each other. Ambanian appears and says that this is not a problem. Rua looks at her in shock, and she adds that now they will find out everything and call the night girl. Seriously, it seems strange to me to talk about marriage without the person you are going to marry. Night approaches and joyfully exclaims that Ryuya is here too. The king apologizes to her and says that she was probably busy with matters after the battle. She replied decisively, no, Lord Ryuya did so much in that battle, so she must at least politely thank him. Amnion asks Ryuya to find information about her, and agrees that he will not use her just like that. He looked at her stats and saw her level of affection for him is 5 hearts. Ryuya feels that her level has increased, and thinks that maybe she gained experience in that battle. No wonder 30,000 demons were defeated by 7,000 soldiers. Suddenly he notices only affection and thinks, what is this? He has long been curious about what the degree of affection here is. There is no such parameter in the guild card. Maybe this is a feature of Ambignane. The demon says that, as written, this parameter expresses the degree of affection. It shows what a person feels for him. He ponders and begins to suspect. Ambinian says that here is proof of love. Opposite feelings are marked with the symbol of hearts. This can be called love. Ryuya calls her a real devil. Ryuya begins to think about when she developed these feelings of love. She says that the events on the battlefield played a big role, and he also beat that idiot who annoyed her. That is quite enough to fall in love. The king tells his daughter that they talked about something, and then directly asks her if she is ready to get married. She immediately, stunned, asks if he really intends to give her to the church, and he says he would never do that and adds that they will not leave her alone until she gets married. The king said that is why he decided to marry her off to one of the well-known among them, but she panicked and asked him to wait. She kneels down and asks him not to worry about her. She will dedicate herself to knighthood for life. She lowers her head and says that her duty is to protect the weak. The king says that before he stages this drama, maybe she will find out who it is about. She shouts that whoever it is, she. The king sharply interrupts her and says that his bride will be Ryuya. And then there is silence. The knight immediately rises with burning eyes and rosy cheeks and asks what this is. The king says that Ryuya will always be at hand, but he just got angry. She is frightened and asks why he got angry. The king said that Ryuya declared he would not continue the marriage talk without the bride herself, so she was called. Ryuya is outraged that the king just left and revealed everything. At first she sits tensely, and when she suddenly sharply asks what they are talking about, her cheeks blush even more. The king says that if she is really against it, he will have to abandon this idea. She panics and shouts, "Stand up." She begins to blush and stammer, begging to wait a little. And what is this? She cannot finish her thought. Amiens whispers to Ryuya that, as she said, she has fallen in love, and she immediately begins to congratulate him. He stands in shock. Lesledza says she cannot be the first to apologize. Everyone is stunned, even her father. She says the problem is not with Lady Ryu. He is a true hero. If he becomes her husband, she will be the happiest. The king asks, so what is the matter? She lowers her eyes and says that he has Mrs. Gnome. Ryuya does not understand what Gnome has to do with it, and Lesledza asks she also loves Mr. Ryuya. She says that she cannot treat her that way. No one even begins to say that the most important thing for her is that he is happy. She says that this is only thanks to the efforts of Mr. Ruiz, so at least she should somehow thank him. She will not interfere with him building a happy life. Elisletza bursts out shouting that this is wrong, and Ryuya does not understand at all what is happening. Liz exclaimed that simply letting go is not the only way to thank him. She has always been there and always supported him. She cannot just take him away because he no longer needs her. They began throwing sharp arguments at each other. The king and Ryuya do not understand what is happening. Suddenly Amiens comes out and says that she will take the master, and everyone turns to her. The king begins to speak, and the Andean asks him what he will say to the fact that the Lord will take them both. The nobleman List caught them standing there with mouths open in surprise. Ryuya asks what it is about, how they even got along with each other, and Mbini confidently says that they will definitely understand each other. The king says that for strong and influential people this is, for example, a usual thing. He has 4 wives and with each of them he has a child. Ryuya thought to himself, maybe they just cannot decide. The king says that, in his opinion, he can quite easily entrust Lesledza to such a man, and does not want to offend the young lady Nomu, and it is also worth not forgetting about her gift as a great alchemist. They whisper to Amidi that a worthy master has many wives, so why reject such an opportunity? Smoke was already pouring from the ears and nose of Ryus, and they ask him, will he agree to this marriage for the sake of the future of this country? He is afraid if he refuses, in their eyes he will turn into a real devil, because everyone already looks at him exactly like that. He understands that everything has already been decided for him. Finally he answers that he is ready to take responsibility and take both of them as wives, and a deaf silence fell around. He asks why they are silent, why Lesledza, and why when they know him they are happy. One says to the other, take care of her. Ryuya is shocked. Are they really not against it at all? No, of course, he had a premonition that he and Gnome would end up in such a situation, but... The king tightly embraces Ryu and joyfully whispers, this is wonderful, simply incredible. Now Ryu is my son. Remember the family. He hugs him tighter, presses him, and says that he hopes he will continue to be useful to the state, and they will arrange a celebration. Ryuya says he is too loud. And Binion sits on the royal throne and says that the king is so cheerful. There is clearly something to it. She hasn't been this cheerful for a long time. Ru has 2 wives, and the entire kingdom's people learned what is happening on the battlefield, so people began to believe that a real hero has appeared in the kingdom. He is just another adventurer from the guild. He has no skills. His name is Raya. An order is given to open the gates. A man stands up and decisively says that he will leave here on foot. A girl looks at a newspaper page and says mockingly that Rua has the face of a real country bumpkin. Here she will also fit. She hasn't been to the castle for a long time. A smiling guy says that neither has he. The guards near the gates raise their heads and see it's the princess, and they start shouting that the king's children have returned. They are less guided as brother and sister. Lesleles calls Ryoya her dear husband and rejoices at his return. The new wife meets her husband. Ryoya is not used to this. He received a mansion from the royal palace. Let's ask him what the matter is. Is he really unwell? He awkwardly says no, he is just extremely happy. They say that until recently a family of some minister lived here. Who is he anyway? Let's ask him if she did something. She never dressed like that. He replies that everything is fine, she is just not in armor. She says she never behaved like a girl because she trained to become a knight, and she doesn't know if she can be a good wife for such a great man. Ryoya awkwardly says that he is not that outstanding, and Les shouts that he is a true hero, the strongest person on earth. Her father, His Majesty, asked to be by his side to represent his country. She confidently says that she will do everything he wishes. Ryoya repeats her words and wonders what strange thing did the king say to her. Let's ask if he wants to eat, wash, or train. If to train, they will measure their strength. Ryoya thinks the last phrase is unnecessary. He asks her what Noam is doing, and she answers. She is in the laboratory with Lady Ambien. Noam, now a wife, moved to the estate and seriously took up alchemy. She turned one of the rooms into a laboratory and now obsessively mixes various materials, testing new recipes. The Guild of Craftsmen buys everything that comes out of it, having fun as best they can, and Ambanian manages everything and makes money. Lizlitz returns to Ryuya and apologetically says that she is sorry to say this, he just returned home, but his father sent a letter, and he must definitely come to the castle tomorrow. Revia mentally tells herself that since he became his son-in-law, he is not at all ashamed to address him. Let's tell him to be careful, she adds, and if it is really necessary, then clearly something is wrong. The next day, during the meeting, she says that it seems her brothers and sisters have returned. The first Prince Amnanto proudly says that he is a hero and did well, and the first Princess Isabella smiles at him. Amnanto, one of the brothers, praises him as the future king, and hopes that he will continue to serve the kingdom. The second Prince Russell just smiles. Ryoya and Lesledza look at them with anxiety. Isabella tells them not to fool a simple ignoramus. She, the eldest child of King Leongard, will be the main ruler. She tells Ryuya that if he wants to swear allegiance to someone, then only to him. Ryuya does not understand at all what is happening. Samnanto roared that in the succession to the throne, sons have priority, and the eldest son must become the heir. Isabella says that he is naive. In their kingdom there have already been queens, and the throne must belong to the smartest. He shouts loudly that then he definitely must sit on the throne. He is much smarter than her. She says she has not heard of such loud wise men, and Ryoya is still standing and does not understand what is going on here. The majesty of the king makes his children understand that this is enough. Both bow and agree with him. The social editions of Ru fall silent again. Ruya turns his gaze to him. Lislada calls Ruya dear, as if apologizing. She tells her brothers and sisters that all 3 of them are true children of King Centakilian, and each has the right to inherit the throne, but ultimately only one of them will bear responsibility for the future of this country. Someone says that she has a cute dress. The elders of Nantosa say, wasn't it clear he has his father's noble blood, so he can do nothing? He sarcastically says he heard she worked well this time. Maybe he should start praising her as queen. Lesledza simply thanks him. He says that because of her origin, she will not be able to sit on the throne. He looks at her with hatred and says that half the blood flowing in her is the blood of a homeless mongrel who really does not know who she is, and therefore, in his opinion, a daughter born from the womb of a dog is also a dog. Ruya wonders what the difference is here. Leds lowers his eyes and says that she was born from a person of low rank and was treated poorly even when she received the title of knight. She is ready to serve this country fully to repay him with an honorary title. Zimnanto says that it is a good idea. With such an attitude, she will continue to work for the benefit of her life, like a hunting dog that everyone can use, even if it is useless. He fell silent. Ryu pointed his finger at his face, then grabbed him by the collar and lifted him up. He shouts, what is he even doing? His brother and sister just look at him and he shouts to him, let go. Ruya sharply tells him what kind of upbringing he will receive if he behaves like that, and reminds him that the people he is blood related to are not dogs. Lesledza asks Ru to stop and says that they are still the same prince and princess, only her mother is a commoner, and this is what distinguishes her from her brother, who is the son of the king's wife. Ryuya does not stop and says that people should be equal regardless of origin. Ignoring this and comparing people is like depriving a person of their qualifications. He says the only trouble of this country is that such people become kings, yet he offends his beloved, and for this he will make him kneel before her. Zimnanto does not calm down. He shouts what he is doing, calls the guards, and orders them to kill this madman, but the king asks to wait. The king told Ryu that the disrespect caused by this foolish nonsense deeply offends him, and asked if he could restrain his anger. Ryu, yes, indignantly stated that it was Zimnanto who humiliated him, so there is no point in him apologizing. The king says he will postpone the conversation with him. Ryuya takes them and throws them to the ground as if not knowing. He shouts to his father, "Get rid of this werewolf immediately because this werewolf has harmed the royal family and must be publicly executed." The king looks threateningly at his son and barked for him to be silent, explaining, "First, Ryuya is a hero of the kingdom. If he had not defeated the demons, this country would have long been destroyed, and if such a worthy person were executed, the power would fall. He will not even think about such a thing." Zimnanto trembles with rage and says that then he will deal with whoever registers such werewolves, and make that person thank him and serve him faithfully, like a dog. The king sighed deeply and told him, "Do as you wish." Zimnanto, addressing his father, said that the first prince, Zimnanto, has just returned to the homeland and intends to continue learning the wisdom of the ruler, as before, preparing one day to become king. Isabella said she missed their faces, but now that she has returned, she will never leave them again, because she believes she will always be here now to learn the affairs of the king. The third heir says that the second prince, Rausoch, is also home. He smiles and gently waves his hand. The king laughs, "Yes, that's right, all three have already returned." Ryuya asks if they ever even left. The king says he has something to tell them, the children, who have returned from their mother's house. They ask what he wants to tell them. The king turns and coldly says that he intends to deprive them of the right to the throne. All three were shocked by what they heard. Even Ryuya did not expect such a turn of events and silently pressed his lips. Amnanto exclaims, "How can he take away their rights? What did he mean?" Abela asks, "Maybe he expressed himself incorrectly, or I didn't hear it right." The king asks again if they are curious why he decided so, and at that moment Amnanto intervenes. If he cannot convince him, then these two can, after all. They seem undeserving of becoming future kings, but at the same time deserving. He grumbles that because of his skills, origin, and hard training, he was rightfully considered the most worthy heir, so why was a different decision made? For him, this is outright injustice. The king says, is it really him who tells him that this is unfair, and begins to laugh forcibly. Lesledza quietly whispered to Ryuya that this unnatural laughter is a signal of something bad, and Ryuya said he understood. Then the king suggests listening to them, why they decided to return. Saminto shouts that this is their homeland, isn't it obvious? Isabella shouts that this is the country where she was born and raised, she loves it with all her heart. The king says that it is quite clear to him, if they care so much about their country, then why did they leave it and flee? Zemnanto denies this. Isabella is outraged, did she really leave the country and flee? The king says that they left the country during a national crisis. What else can it be but a treacherous escape? Ryuya asks his wife, she answers that it all started with the demon invasion. People fled, taking with them everyone they could, and everyone wondered why. But at the very beginning of the attack, no one even hoped that Lord Ryu, the hero savior, would appear. Before his arrival, neither she nor he even believed in fate. Her father took command to repel the demons and secretly concealed all news from the people in the capital to avoid frightening them. They mobilized soldiers and gathered medicine across the country, appealed to the church for help because she was a knight, and she herself did everything to help her father as much as possible. Ryuya mentally tells himself, this old man is truly a skilled king, and only now he realizes it. Lesledza says that at this time her 3 brothers and sister, and Ryuya picks her up and says that they fled. Yes, they fled. Zimnanto said that the demons would destroy the country, so he, confident in this, fled. Each of them was left only with a house rented by their mother, and if they returned there, they would live quite luxuriously. Lesledza says that each of them lived in their parents' house until the news came that the demons were defeated. Ryuya says they were either very brave or just foolish to decide to return after that, and now he understands why the king acted that way. The king says that he is the country itself. It would be ridiculous if the country died and the king remained alive, but still the contenders for the throne fled, each of them, and that is outrageous. Zemnan then says to his father, I don't understand, this is different. Isabella immediately asks him for forgiveness. The king pays attention to her and she says that he said, the king is the country itself. Even if all the inhabitants of the kingdom perish, if at least one member of the royal family survives, the chances of restoring the country are very high. Even if the demons capture the entire kingdom and burn it to the ground, one member of the royal family is enough to return to the ashes and rebuild their country. The king asks if that is exactly why she fled, and she answers, yes, she was ready to be branded with shame for abandoning the country, only to give the people a chance to survive. Ryuya and Lisletsa say that she did excellently. The king agrees, saying it makes sense, but there is at least a minimum of usual order, at least to warn that you are leaving the country, not to do it secretly, but instead they all fled without saying a word, and it resembled a rat escape, fighting over who would be the first to break away from the sinking ship. The king said sternly, what they did can only be called a grave betrayal, and cowards cannot be kings. In panic, the children scream, asking to wait what will happen to the future of their country, who will become the next king. Revia thought that all that energy could be put to something useful, but they fled as soon as the demons attacked. Isabella and Zimnanto shout in unison, only the three of us have the right to inherit the throne. If he takes it from us, who will be next? What will happen to the country? They ask him to reconsider his decision. Revia thinks that they really show unity, if only they had shown it during the demon invasion. The king smiled and told them not to worry. He has another child, and he is much better than them. Ryuya thought they were talking about him and was about to say something, but the king called Lisledza. The king says that since her mother was a commoner, Lisledza cannot claim the throne, but this time he went further. He deprived all heirs of the right to ascend the throne. For agreeing to participate in the destruction of the demons, she is given the right to be the first to inherit the throne. As soon as he can no longer remain on it, Lisledza will take his place and become queen. Lisledza screams in shock, stretches out her hand as if asking to wait, and tells her father, Your Majesty, that all her life she was prepared only as a knight, not as a ruler. She does not know how to govern the country. The king says that she can learn this right now. She is a knight, so she has a title, and it is very similar to a royal one, so one could say the foundation is ready. She grabs Sheiks Ruya by the shoulders and asks him what he thinks about it, then says she must discuss everything with Lord Ruya. He is now her husband. The king suddenly remembered something and said, If you think about it, then Lord Ruya too, by the way. Here the children interrupt him and shout, What did she just say? Is that hero who saved the country really a man of Zeus? Ryoya does not understand and asks, Didn't they know this? The king smiles and says, If Leslet agrees to become king, will he really become one? After all, he is now his son-in-law, that is, the king's son-in-law, and has every chance. Seminto shouted the name Leseld threateningly and ominously said that she is something. Born a commoner and now believing that cunning can seize the throne, he declared that this is possible only in her dreams. He shouts to his father, Come to your senses. He is Seminanto, in whose veins flows the blood of his father and mother, the ruler of the great southern state of Una, Rubrum. The king abruptly interrupts him and says that this will never happen, asks if he still hasn't learned his lesson. The man understands that aristocrats do not allow themselves to be called dogs, not to mention kings. They definitely do not allow themselves that. He apologizes. The king pronounces the names of his children, former heirs in whose veins half flows the blood of other royal families. Therefore they are only half noble, the other half of them is foreign nobility, and they themselves proved this by their actions. He understood that Ruyo would defend this country instead of Themas, the true king of Centisiliana, because people already know about his courage. He announced that Lesledza would become his successor, and that was final. He ordered that no one bring up this topic again. Rosel raises his hand and asks for permission, utters a few words. The king says he said nothing, so he allows him to speak. Rausoch thanks him and says that he respects him as the wisest king. In this situation, he is completely right. He will follow him to the end. Zimnando and Isabella froze in shock. Russell says that the thing is, as the second prince he had slim chances of inheriting the throne from the start. Isabella is furious and understands why he behaved that way, and Zimnando says he was a loser from the very beginning. Russo says he agrees about the queen, but the problem is this Ru. Who is he anyway? Everyone looked at his brother in surprise, and Rua began to become wary, because Russell was looking at him as if he was plotting something. Rauso tells Ryuya that rumors about him have already spread throughout the kingdom. They say he is so strong that there is no one in the world who could surpass him. As soon as he returned to the country, he immediately began to hear all sorts of rumors about himself, and this shocked him. Raya wonders what is behind Raisla's smile. He says there was also a girl, the guild leader, who spoke about him with the greatest passion. He hands over a sheet of paper with a drawing of Ryuya and Londit, and says that she was handing out these flyers to everyone indiscriminately. Ryuya feels that he seems to think he knows who the author is. Russell says that something else happened, something even he could not believe, and Lesledzer immediately asks, what exactly? He replies that he does not have the necessary skills for that. Rua responds that this is true, but mentally he thinks that they will really start discussing this topic again, but now with his participation. Russell says that it should not be like that. The man Lesledza, who was chosen first in line for the throne because of his supposed abilities and achievements, actually has no skills at all. Lesledza bursts out shouting, It is true Ryuja became famous throughout the country because he almost single-handedly defeated demons, and she is sincerely proud to be married to Lord Ryuja. She confidently says that people usually cling to the brightest deeds and close their eyes to everything else. The queen, who chose a man without any skills as her husband. Russell says that if this news reaches the rulers of other countries, he fears nothing good will come of it. Rhea thought to himself that the second prince was probably right after all. Skills are the most valuable thing in this world. If you have skills, you can already claim any high position, so without skills you will not become king. Let's ask her brother what he meant. Could it be that he really says that if she becomes queen, she will have to cancel the marriage with Lord Ruya? Is that exactly what he wanted to say? Russell replies that not at all, rather the opposite. When Ledza becomes queen, popular dissatisfaction will disappear, and he will do everything possible to help with this. Ryuya thought to himself that he had a poor attitude towards people who shamelessly say they are good, and still does not understand the true intentions of the second prince. Rausoj says he just wants to take the opportunity to help the people he loves. Rua wonders what he means by that. Ruselch asks Ryu in surprise what his adventure rank is. Ryu answers D, and Ruselch suspiciously adds that he also has D. Isn't that the rank of a newly minted auto lawyer? He thought he could somehow hide his true abilities, but simply lacks the necessary skills. The king cannot believe it and asks why the Adventurers Guild gave Ryu such a low rank. He is shocked by this. The king said it is unbecoming for the princess's husband to be only ranked D. By status, he should be at least or C. Raya thought there was nothing to be done. He was so strong that Mr. Ronfai, lacking the necessary influence, could not quickly give him such a high rank. Lisliza behind him says there is a good reason for this. Ryuya thinks the matter of demon extermination has not yet been announced to the guild. The king says that in that case he will issue a new decree. Russell tells him that this cannot be done, and the king shouts that he will do it immediately. Osel says that adventurers actually live by their own rules even if the king orders them. They will not obey and will not raise Ryu's rank. He adds that this is why the rank the guild gives an adventurer is extremely important. He says that adventurers have their own rules. Even the royal family cannot do as they please here, and if he manages to follow them and rise at least to the highest S rank, or even to strong A, it will clearly show that his abilities are truly powerful, and even without skills a high rank will cover the shame with the shadow of his greatness. The king loudly exclaims that this is a great idea. A person with sufficient skill will easily get rank C, and Rizalsh adds that, in his opinion, Class A will be enough. The king asks Rhea what she thinks if he wants to be promoted in rank, and says he will send a petition to the guild. Rhea nervously laughs. Rua believes that as an adventurer he sincerely strives to rise in rank, and tells the king that he will do everything possible if he gets a chance to be promoted. Russo says exactly that. Having received a high rank and revealed his marriage to Lesledza to the whole country, he will not sow confusion and distrust. Rua hesitates whether this is friendly advice or a cunning plan. Now he cannot marry Lesledzi until he gets at least a rank, and if that does not happen, she will refuse to accept the throne, so they have gained a little more time for themselves. He looks at Isabella and Zimnanto and thinks to himself, this whole situation benefits only the two of them. The king tells Rusev that he is glad. He treats him so well and said so many kind words, and he thought that he would get angry and lose his temper when deprived of the right to inherit the throne. Rosel smiles and says that it is simply funny and that he always thinks about this country. He bows to the king, while Lasleza and Ryoya look at him suspiciously. The next day, within the walls of the Adventurers Guild, Rhea must break through to a higher rank as soon as possible. He desperately wants to achieve this for several reasons. First, it would be great if at 20 he could walk as an A rank. Second, the wedding with Lesledza. He feels that it is finally time to start thinking about the wedding dress. He notices that there are fewer reasons to dress up. Ruya asks what happened to Gnome's dress. She answers, we decided to make it together in the future. Ambient asks you if he is even listening to her and if he should. Loundic comes out and tells Roya that he has reached rank B. Noma was also promoted to rank Y. They both saved hundreds of soldiers. She says that the royal palace submitted a special request for the destruction of demons. The Adventurers Council approved it and decided to raise its rank. Revia asks if it's normal that he just jumped from one rank to another, since usually ranks are raised only after a bunch of quests and an increase in one's own power. Londite yells at them, accusing everyone that his merits are so unique only gods can kill demons, and after that what does he expect? More hugs. He asks for forgiveness out of fear. The gnome asks why he was promoted only to this rank. It's not enough. Even among those who have a C rank, there is no one who could handle an army of demons alone, and she shouts fiercely that only stubborn old men sit on the council, that's why. Revia mentally rejoices that she is angry because of him and that she tries for his sake, but still a little. His thoughts are interrupted by Amnion. She says that it seems to her that he was treated unfairly, and suggests destroying the entire council. Ryoya thinks mentally that she just appeared and already says what annoys him. Londite says that even if that were so, it does not at all mean that there was any reason for it. There is a special test to become an adventurer of rank A. She says that obtaining a level is a real achievement, but legendary feats like killing a waver require C level, and that's a completely different class. So to understand how special those candidates for B are, who gather once every few years, you need to know. Fewer than 10 people pass the exam for promotion to A. Londite says that sometimes candidates die, those who know him, and Ryuya shouts that it's terrible. Nolam asks when the next exam will be, and Londite says next month, which is actually about 5 days from now, and they are stunned that it's so soon. Londite says that if they miss this chance, the next one will be only in 2 to 3 years. They will have no choice. Ryuya thinks that she must pass on the first try and worries about how merciless this exam will be. Londite asks Noam if she will pass. She joyfully replies that she is passing. Ryuya is surprised by her answer. He thinks how calm and formidable she is. She became an adventurer around the same time as he did and is progressing at the same pace. This is the bottomless ability of the king of alchemists. Londite says that then she will write another letter of recommendation. They say they are counting on her. Ryuya says that it always turns out this way. She constantly takes care of him, and the food he eats is also delicious. If the local guildmaster were not a girl, his path definitely would not be so easy. Longdyke does not know how to say it, but in fact she also waits every day for them to come. They climb higher and show her increasingly interesting things, and their progress is insanely fast. Ryuya asks again what she said at the end. Londite calmly says that she will take care of all the preparations herself, and they must come to the meeting place on the appointed day, and Nome obeys her. Mdian asks what kind of place it is. Londite replies that it is different each time, this time in the south, in the kingdom of Rubrum, and Ryuya immediately recalls that he recently heard this name. Mbinyan and Nome grab his hands and shout that since they decided to leave right now, she is ready to start whenever. Ryuya asks what he is talking about. This is not a walk around the neighborhood. They need to warn the guys and prepare well. Everything is not so simple. In a few days they reach the kingdom of Rubrum, a warm country located among several port cities and thriving thanks to maritime trade, and the blue of the sea here is incredibly bright. No one is happy and says what a wonder it is she sees the sea for the first time. It turns out that such a huge lake really exists, and Rua says that she was too noisy. Ryuya himself also enjoys it. He sees it for the first time, and it seems to him that the wind smells different. Born in the doorway of Central Curian, he had mostly seen only forests before, but now he finally saw it with his own eyes. Noam and Rua shout that this is the sea. Ambient smiles and says that their restless leader shouted exactly that upon seeing the sea. He asks her if she has seen the sea before, and she replies, "Of course, I have seen it." She asks him how many thousands of years he thinks she has lived. She has already studied the entire seabed. Noam says that, as expected, she has a lot of free time, and she replies in denial. That's not true. From time to time I engage in various tasks. She says that magical spirits also live in the sea, so she has visited them for various reasons more than once. Real sometimes, looking at Ambinian's appearance, almost forgets that she is a spirit who can cause a natural disaster and instantly kill tens of thousands of people, and those like her live at the bottom of the sea. Noah pretends to be friends with other magical spirits and says that there are those who are truly kindred spirits with her. She casually adds, there are also those who start fighting to the death for no reason and drag everyone around into it. Ryoya thinks that a lot of trouble can be caused with her, lucky that he is her friend, but no one said that when spirits are in the city, they are so clearly visible. Ambinian says that's for sure. In that case, let her not forget to move as usual. Ryoya thinks, what a convenient national trait. Gamagis, the head of the Adventurers Guild of the Kingdom of Rubrum, threw at Ryu, "You are unlucky." The viewer asks why only documents should be enough, and the worker replies that he has no abilities at all for A rank. That doesn't happen. It can't happen. Ruya cannot understand. Is it really true, as the second prince said, that when moving from country to country all accumulated achievements are reset? But he is already here, he cannot simply retreat. The worker asks if he heard him, calling him Mr. without abilities and reminding him of the main rule of adventurers. The more capable you are, the higher you are. In other words, there is no place here for people without abilities. He says he doesn't know by what trick he got the recommendation, but this time he is taking the exam. He was unlucky. He will never allow such an illegal act. Rhea immediately asserts that he did nothing illegal, and is sure a person without abilities could not have legally obtained a recommendation. He extends the recommendation and says, so, the head of the Guild of the Kingdom of Centakillion is a young girl. It is clear why she is so scatterbrained, but don't be afraid, she will still take responsibility for this mistake. And this recommendation is written so carelessly, with a trembling hand. Ruya clenches his fist and thinks that he can still endure insults directed at himself, but not those directed at Londit. He says that these results are his achievements in his homeland. He calls them raw because he deliberately wrote them in simple language. This is meant to prove that he is a capable person. He shouts that he finished off the monster with a deadly blow, but this is complete nonsense to him. If he wanted to rise higher, he could have come up with something better. Ruya thinks that monsters themselves can destroy an entire country and are natural enemies of humanity. Although at first he did not believe this, why are they treating him so harshly and unfairly? The worker shouts that he forged an official document and could go to jail now. He is learning firsthand how harshly criminals are punished here, and at the same time, the head of the guild who made this absurd paper will be removed from office. Gnome deliberately spills a drink on the worker, tells him that he is too rude, and demands that he apologize to Ruya. He shouts, saying what he is allowed to do. He is the head of the guild. Gnome says that no matter what the position is, if a person does not know etiquette, there is no point in responding politely to them, and he shouts again, who the hell is she? Ruya thinks that thanks to Gnome he did not crush that Majasa, but still. Gnome says that she also wants to take the exam for Ranka. Supposedly, if he had looked at the documents, he would have understood where to look, and Ruya thinks about how small her vocabulary is. Are you really going to take the exam? Asked Majasa. After reading, he saw that she has a special ability. Alchemical King of Rank SSS loudly exclaimed that she is perfectly suitable for the experiment and suggested immediately starting to prepare the documents. Noim decisively says that he will go together with Ryuya. Mohasa screams that this is not allowed. Let her go, because only talented geniuses like her are suitable for rank A, but Noim replies that it does not matter. Ryuya has no abilities at all. She insists that she saw with her own eyes how he effortlessly destroyed monsters, demons, and heroes, and if you do not pass the exam, she will go. Majasa says that even if she says so, only a few without abilities will be recognized, and Ryuya thinks that still people like him were recognized. Mayasa says all right and suggests to start this officially, adds that if a rumor ever spreads that such talented people of rank A will come to his exam, he agrees. Gnome says no, he could not recognize a person with legendary abilities. In the future, in this world, his name will be remembered as a great fool. Mayasa begins to boil with anger. Ryuya quietly asks her to be quiet. No one says that he refuses to recognize her strength, so she gives him a chance to see everything with his own eyes. Majasa asks what she wants to say. Gnome says that there are monsters in the district, asks if you can still handle them alone, and admits that he is incredibly dangerous. Raiga is completely shocked and does not understand her. Majasa shouts that Ruya cannot do this, but if he can, then yes, he will recognize him. Ruya stands awkwardly aside. Nam orders him to suck back the saliva he spat out, and says that he will not allow him to pretend as if he slipped through all this. Ryuya says that he has heard these words somewhere before. Noam says that she made a deal so they can go. Show that brainless thug your strength, and Ryuya follows her, confused. Ryo apologizes to Noam for having to do this instead of her, and adds that it is natural he saved her life, and she still hasn't been able to give back even a fraction of what he did for her. Ryuya is convinced if she hadn't stopped him and he continued to disgrace Londate, he would have attacked and trouble would have been unavoidable. She says that pouring water on him was completely unnecessary. Noam smiles and says that everything is fine. She didn't pour water on him. He doesn't understand. Was that ordinary water? Then what happened? She says that it is a potion she created herself just in case, good that it came in handy so quickly. He fears that in a few days some spots will appear on him and he will die in painful agony. He asks what effect this will have. Noam says that if she had to give it a name, it would be hair restoration elixir, but perhaps more accurately it should be called hair loss elixir. Ryuya exhales with relief and says that it's good his life is not in danger. They both go for a test. After 20 minutes, Noam and Ryuya walk across the plains outside the city, and Noam says that it is so spacious and flat here, the perfect battlefield. Rua recalls Noam's words. She said that he would destroy all the monsters around this city. She said exactly that. He calls Noam. Noam says that she understands that he is worried, but he shouldn't act like that. She calls Ambinian, who appears and asks if this is the potion. Noam says don't be shy and take it. Ambinian thanks her and takes the potion. Noam hands it to her. Ambinian's skirt lifts. She is looking for something. No one says that it could be here, maybe a little deeper. She believes it is definitely here, but no one agrees with her. Ruya looked at him and instantly understood what was happening. Here Noam pulls a bottle of potion from Ambien's skirt. He calls it Monstrapun. She says she made one for research, and he replies, she made so many of them. Noam says she is from that stench that awakens monsters. He brewed the potion, and last time he opened that bottle, the stench spread everywhere, and the smell began to lure everyone to the center. Rue wonders, what center? Ambient points and says, in other words, it is here. Ruya realizes she must deal with them one by one. He asks how many can be attracted by this bottle approximately. Gnome says the potion will cover the entire guild's area of responsibility in this city. Ruya is surprised that she opens such a powerful potion without any hidden intent. The potion is spilling out. Ruya covers her nose and says it stinks how it stinks. Ambient cheerfully says that the monsters will immediately run here. Some sounds began to reach them. Emonon laughs and says they are coming. She says they are half-human beasts with some undefined slimy likeness. She even senses undead among them. Noem prepared a quality potion, and Ryuya asks how many monsters are there exactly. Nyan replied that there seemed to be about 200 of them. He is surprised by such a number. Noem says that this is exactly the effect she was counting on, and she is delighted that the transformation succeeded. Ryo says that yes, there are very many of them now, but what will happen to the city then? Noem assures that everything will be fine because he will defeat them all. Ambanians adds that they were gathered here just for this, and Ryo thinks that she is hoping too much on him. Ryo says that this means, if he misses even once, the city will be in disaster. Eminion says that he will not allow such a mistake. She says that even if something happens, let the city where he was humiliated disappear from the face of the earth. Ryoya thinks that this is pointless. Ryuya shouts that they are already here and will start with the fast monsters. He punches one monster with his fist. The whole problem is only in the quantity. His arms and legs have limited length, and he thinks some plan is needed. He stretched out one hand and immediately destroyed a bunch of monsters. Noem says that this is a wall of compressed air and that it is incredible. Ryu thinks that it works wonderfully enough for weak monsters. And Binjan says that the information is being corrected. Ryui raised her head and asked what it was. She said that the effect turned out to be stronger than they thought, so monsters from a wider territory are gradually approaching here, and asked again, what if I say it more simply? She says that there are already almost 1,000 of them and wishes him luck. Is he being attacked by a whole horde of monsters? But he just destroyed them all. Embanian and Gnome rejoice, insisting that there were over 5,000 here, and he, stunned, asks, could there really have been that many? People came, and with them Bald Mayasa asks, what happened here? Why are there so many monsters here? He looked at the monsters and said that this is a predatory wolf, and those are orcs, goblins, and even Comptech, which he knows, and this one is the most powerful rhinoceros beetle. He recognized Cleo, had seen Fuji somewhere too, Hanabachi. He boasts that he even defeated all the monsters from which useful materials are extracted, what was considered a special product of his city. How did this even happen? Gnome approaches and asks if he means that he slept through all this. He looks up and grows before their eyes. Noem says that it is not Ryo's fault. Majasa simply did not want to believe in his abilities, and because of this he agreed to this. Mahasa says that because Ryo's killed so many monsters at once, none may come here for several months or maybe even several years. And Binyan says how disheveled he is. They tell him that this is good now, no one in the city will be in danger, and she does not know what will happen to those adventurers whose task was to destroy monsters. She tells him to think carefully whether an adventurer of rank D or C could have handled this, adds that they will start official formalities to recognize Ryu as worthy of rank A, and he awkwardly begins to say something, and at that moment M calls Ryu. Gnome says she still has some potion left and suggests immediately continuing the hunt for monsters. Majasa asks to wait and says she will handle all the formalities. The girl is walking away. Gnome smiles and says that this should have been said from the very beginning. Ruya is shocked behind, and Ambinian is proud of Gnome. No one calls Rui. He says he probably didn't even think about it, but in the meantime they managed to collect materials from 5,000 monsters, and on the way talked with the head of the local craftsmen's guild. She left this work to them and didn't do anything herself. The young man is stunned, and Rua says that it is incredible. Exam in a few days, and he keeps thinking about what to do during these days. Most are in E rank, and their main goal now is to pass the exam for A rank, so they need to find out how the previous trials went. Ria says that success comes only to those who do not do foolish things. She has only one rival, and that is himself. Noem does not understand her. Amnion doubts whether it is true. Ambini says if he asks what they should do now, she will simply answer to wash up. No, I am in Ryuya, I do not understand her. I am under the blankets because she says and knows that those covers smelled terribly. It seems it is from the monster bun, and the stinky smell does not go away. They began sniffing themselves and each other, asking if they smelled bad, and Rivias says he doesn't understand anything. Maybe they have already gotten used to their own smells. Eminem says that passers-by who walked past them said something like, incredible, what an unbearable stench, and Ryuya says that he thought it was from her in such a noise she did not hide her presence at all. They awkwardly think about what to do to wash themselves. Eventually they end up at a seaside resort in the kingdom of Rubrum. Revia thought she grew up deep in the continent and did not know it herself, but it turned out that swimming in the sea is true happiness. This is a swimsuit, it is immediately obvious, as if made specifically for relaxing at the sea. Knowing put their clothes in a powerful detergent she invented. She said she had a product that would wash the smell off the body. She suggested that they wash with it before going into the sea. Then Ruya told her that they should have used it right away, since she had such a product. Ruya says that Noah is still late, and for some reason he bought swim trunks and instantly got ready. No one even approaches to apologize for making him wait. He looks at her intently. She looks closely and does not understand what it is. She is wearing revealing clothes. Does she really want to feel like a young girl before the wedding? Noam says that she is actually ashamed. The seller told her that it is just an ordinary swimsuit. Revia asks if he is serious, and what about the other customers? He turns around and sees others. He looks at the other girls and says how open and accessible they are. Someone wanders entangled in a shoelace. Noam closes his eyes and tells him that this is wrong. He cannot bear to look at it. He asks why. Embanin says that he needs to understand the girl's heart so that she knows I tried so hard, but he himself is looking at another. She says that Noam bought a two-piece swimsuit. She gathered all her courage to dare to show him her body, and for Noam this is a real test, so he will have to praise her well. Ruya exhales and a little nervously asks, if he says it suits her, will she take it as a compliment? She says she doesn't know, but thanks him anyway. She says this is the first time she is wearing a swimsuit, and there are so many different options here. He shifts his gaze to Mbinian and sees that he is dressed the same way as they are. She asks if he is surprised and says that she created him from semi-spiritual, semi-corporeal ectoplasm, so he can freely change shape. She has one trick that allows her to change him whenever she wants. Ruya asks Noam to cover her with something, and Noam obediently complies, saying that she slips so much. Embian presses Noam to herself and whispers to her to be silent. She saw how the master panicked. She says that if she continues to seduce him so boldly, he will definitely belong to her. But if she continues to behave so clumsily, eventually her skin will betray her. No one pays attention to her clumsy attempts, and no one asks her not to seduce Rua in such public places. The boys turn around and look at the girls. Binion takes Ru by the hand and says that since they are on the sea beach they need to have a good time. Noam takes his other hand and agrees with a smile. Ambient offers to give them a lecture. She even knows the freestyle swimming style, about which Noam tells Ryui, suggesting to learn. Revia sternly tells them to wait. Did they really come to this country to have fun? The exam is soon. They have matters to attend to now. In the end, they still have fun as they can. On the day of the exam at the central arena, Noam says that the exam is about to begin. Rhea says that he is so nervous. Noam asks why he should be nervous. He will pass everything without problems. She should be nervous because she has no combat skills, and Ryoya wonders when she started to shine like that from seeking adventures. This means that this building was built for the ceremonies of the kingdom of Rubrum, and bloody battles once raged here. And so it quietly became a place of national importance. For several years, the exam for the promotion of adventure ranks has been held here, and many countries of the world still help each other organize it. At least that's what the guy from the short states told him. Ruya challenged Noam, show the best we can do together, and Noam, full of confidence, gladly agreed. Rivia says that besides, the chance that he will fail the exam is greater than his own. She screams in panic that this simply cannot be, and Rivia insists that he is not joking. He says that they do not know when this eccentric without a certain type of ability will appear again. Having left the country, he again felt a foreign label on himself, supposedly, no abilities. Most likely, they will not have to wait long. Then someone approached and said that this is the same guy, just without ability. Ruya thought to himself that he himself brought bad luck. Portly bandits laugh and say that some eccentric who does not know his place has appeared again. Could he really become an adventurer of rank A without any abilities? Another laughs even louder and tells him to calm down. The rank is beyond his reach. Probably, the class spoiled him so much that he decided he could rise without any abilities. Another even asks if he is ready to die, and he must be ready, because the world is not so simple as to just get a rank without skills. Ruya looks at them and is not afraid at all. Ryoya says that he really has no abilities, but that is no reason to give up. Whatever happens, he does not surrender. They laugh again and say that he is brave. They say that in rank A there should be no one who hopes to somehow solve the problem, only with enthusiasm. The second picks up the laughter and says that if he thinks enthusiasm will help him figure everything out, then he is quite a coward. Another also laughs and says, does he know that to obtain a rank of the same kind, based only on his iron will, is not enough? The third says that he does not understand the logic and how he intends to achieve his goal. It is simply terrible. Revia asks, so what? he laughed again and says that he is not ready at all. He even came here empty-handed, and there won't be another rank exam for a long time. Does he really think he will survive all this without a single elixir? Nothing can be done. Maybe he will share the elixirs they have. He throws him 5 elixirs. They still stood silently. The man keeps loudly insisting that it is not so easy to relax during an A rank exam, relying only on potions. He still needs an antidote and something against paralysis. His friend encourages him and shouts that since he has no abilities, he should have prepared and taken care of his own safety, and meanwhile they throw him more potions. Endurance drink, eye medicine, kindness elixir, cooling potion, petrification potion, and throat lozenge. Ryoya stands there with boxes and bags full of the most diverse potions. They laugh and say that even with their help it is not a fact that he will pass the rank exam. It is very strict. If he really wants to get the rank, it is better to fail it and only after that give up, and at the end, loudly shout that he will not give up. They walk and say that there is also a new little boy there, and like senpai, they must lead them on the right path. Gnome says they have as many potions as she does, and she thinks the throat lozenges are very tasty. Ryoya stays behind, sincerely thanks them, and then loudly announces that the greetings before the exam will start very soon. The organizers call all exam participants gather in front of the stage. Everyone gathers together. One of the participants, with a serious expression, says that it is time to start. The hosts say that at first they were given a place where the exam could be held, as well as assistance and all conveniences. One of the leaders is Sosides, an adventurer of rank A, the curator of the branch promotion exam, and a direct member of the guild council. The second such curator turned out to be an adventurer of rank A, Grinda, with a super muscular body, and as society says, he would sincerely like to thank the Kingdom of Rubrum on behalf of the Adventurers Guild. Here is another such curator and adventurer of rank A, a guide in the labyrinth, Sentence. And no less cool adventurer of rank A, the saber-toothed girl, Shiger. Some address the gathered audience here to the future adventurers of rank A and to the self-loving brats who think they have the right. Their task is to say who is who. The first says that together with him on the podium now are 4 people exactly the kind they want to become, and he sincerely hopes that among the newcomers standing here today, as many as possible already equal them. In fact, he thought this means that he will be looked at the same way as the current adventurers of rank A, and he considered this quite logical. Shiger says that it may turn out that none of them will give in. Sentence tells her to be silent. They announce in chorus that the exam is starting, and the hall is also joyful, and then the host says what he would like to say, but before that. Ruja is disappointed. What else? The man says that for this exam they invited a guest who assured that this experience might somehow help him in the future when he becomes king, and asks to be allowed to introduce this guest. He says that this is the first prince of the kingdom of Centaquilian Zemnanto, and Ryuya is shocked by such an appearance. Zemnanto, addressing the audience, asked them not to be sad after all. He is truly the first candidate for the throne of the Centracilian kingdom. He said that many in the Rubrum kingdom might wonder why there is a prince from a foreign country here, but they don't even need to ask. He has strong ties with this country. He began the story. His mother is the second wife of King Centaquilian Curran, former queen of the Rubrum kingdom, and ultimately the king of Rubrum is his uncle, who allowed his dear nephew to watch them and learn. Rhea begins to recall and says, "So this is how it is. This is exactly how you heard about the kingdom of Rubrum." Now Ryu Vajo is sure nothing good awaits him. They say that there is nothing bad about this at all. The Prince of Two Kingdoms is here, he has a good grade, and if he receives the title, it will be much easier for him to implement his future plans. Zemnanto agrees with this. Zemnanto smiles and says that the most important thing is that those who have a low score from the very beginning will not be able to make a single step and will change nothing. He finds this for you. He begins to whisper something to the host. He whispers to the other hosts if everyone understood he only needs one thing, that those connected with Liz Ledza definitely lose. The master says that if the prince gives them decent financial assistance, they will help him with this without any problems. Ruya hears everything perfectly. He has a level of 80 million. Zemnato says that Liz Ledzy's face will drop when he fails the exam. His father will definitely make him the heir, and when he becomes king, he will never forget what he did for him. Rua says that now he is absolutely sure. This exam will definitely not pass quietly. The master does not understand why this dog came like this. He feels hopeless. Rua says that he was hated, but those who know him support him and insist that it is not true. No one hates him. The master quietly whispers to Zemnanto that, as he himself said, he probably got here because of a mistake by the guildmaster of his region. Zemnanto tells him that he counts on him. Ryuya says that they get along so well. No one says that they are true friends. The master says not to worry when it comes to battle. They will throw themselves at him themselves. If he lowers his guard even for a moment, nothing will remain of him. Ryu answers yes, if he is going to do it he can try. He calls him an intriguer. No, he does not understand him at all. Zimnato asks him not to let him down so as not to betray expectations. The host announces to everyone that whoever is called must step forward. Ryu folds her hands in front of her and says she will not be provoked and will not give in. She supports him and advises him to try, because she thinks he is so kind but a little incomprehensible. They are called one by one, they respond. Ryuya does not understand what this roll call of absentees is. Noam is called. She raises her hand and shouts loudly that she is here. Ryuya wished him luck and said that he would probably be called very soon. Noam replied that it would probably be so, and left. The host announced, "That's all. There are still a bunch of people left." Senses says that they probably already understand why they were not named. Ryuya says that the others have no abilities at all. He says that it is true. He says that they were branded as losers from birth. He calls them poor wanderers, abandoned by the gods. They come here every time. There are so few of them, they have no abilities at all, and somehow they were tricked, but they shouldn't even dream that because of this they will be allowed to participate in the exam. He just shouted loudly that the rules allow them to participate, and everyone else supported and agreed with him. Sensen says that all he has left is to eliminate those whose logic does not work, and asks if they knew. Since his guild appeared during the adventure, no one without this ability has ever reached a rank. They did not exist before, do not exist now, and will not exist in the future. He continues to say that even those who have failed and are good for nothing want to look at those who, thanks to their powerful abilities, will one day surpass them, and this may benefit the entire guild of adventurers, so maybe they will leave here while their bodies are not yet soaked in blood. He, extending his hand, says that in that case they will be considered people who seemingly were not destined to have any talent, and asks what they will do. Ryuya says that he will definitely pass the exam and does not intend to give up. He initially came here to get rank A, because the soul of an adventurer demands challenging the impossible. The whole crowd shouts that it is true, that exactly so, because it offended them too much, but with such words he won't even break a raw egg. Senses says how irritating they are. Why do such stupid people always smell like trouble? He says that in that case, to everyone at the venue of the rank adventurer's exam, he will arrange a special exam. Rhea felt that something was approaching and shouted to the others to be careful with their steps. Sensen laughed, saying, "It seems that among you there is indeed someone with sharp senses, but being the one conducting the exam, he ordered. Whoever moves even a step will be instantly disqualified." Suddenly the ground split open, and everyone fell into the hole. Senses says not to worry, falling into it is not the only danger that awaits them. He keeps twisting his fingers and insists that he will simply lead them to the right place for the exam. At the moment when Ryu was calmly and cold-bloodedly sent into the abyss through a shared glance with Ambanin, he was convinced of this. He saw information about the sentence. At the selected coordinates, a hole appears through which one can pass. Its entrance and exit are linked to each other. First, you need to specify the place that will become the exit, otherwise the hole at the entrance cannot be created, and as soon as the exit coordinates move away from the one who set them by a certain distance, they self-destruct. Ryuya falls head first. They ask him if he is alive. He emerges from under the ground and asks the others if everything is okay. They are in panic and do not understand at all what it all means. Some adventurer says that about 20 to 30 people were thrown here. It seems they are now in the dungeons of the kingdom of Rubrum. Another adventurer shrugged and said that most cities stand above dungeons from which they draw resources, but he never thought that a trap was deliberately set here. Ryuya says that it was his ability that opened the hole in space. He calls it the Desian stain, and the others do not understand and ask again. Sentence looks at them through his abilities and says that he is not bad and that he understood everything immediately. Did he really understand what his ability is? He keeps repeating to them that he has a backup test for the incapable escape from the dungeon. If they pass it, he will admit that they are still capable of at least the smallest thing. Their time is not limited, but if they do not hurry, the exam will end, and still he is responsible for this exam. If they want to give up, they can ask him for help at any time. He seems to say that he can still allow even those who are unable to do their job to live. Revia tells the others that they will go ahead. Everyone agrees and shouting follows him. They shout that they will do it. Let them see with what feelings they all came. Their hearts are united not only by hatred of high-rank adventurers who arrogantly humiliated them, but also by the results with which they hope to become rank adventurers. And also the pride of those who have no abilities. Suddenly he notices exactly those three who threw potions at him. One shouts that they will continue to act in the same spirit. Another assures, if everyone unites, these difficulties will turn out to be mere trifles. Rivi yells at them what that means. They also have no abilities, and they ask, did anyone say otherwise? They laugh and say that this is already their 7th exam to get a rank. Someone else suggests, let's all surrender at once. Ryoya thinks that on the surface they seemed like simple hooligans, but in reality they endured the hardest sufferings and still made it this far. Someone shouts that he will survive even without the blessing of abilities, because he has been doing this for 20 years, and he is supported by an indomitable spirit. At first Rua ordered them to stop laughing so irritably. He understood everything. Here everyone even without abilities is very strong. Ryua asks Sema Binion, do you hear him? She, hovering in the air, replies that of course she hears her master. It seems he was sent to a very strange place, and she asks if there will be any orders from him. She asks if she should first destroy the one who drove him into this pile of garbage, and then save him. Ryuya replies that it is neither. He will try to handle it himself, and she should continue to support Gnome. It would not be surprising if something happens to her. She says that he, as always, is too cautious. No, it seems I am quite fine. She asks if he wants to use the shared view and see it with his own eyes. He actually asks her to do it. He sees several other people lying wounded on the ground, and Noam confidently stands among them. The hosts are cheerfully fighting with the participants. Ruya does not understand what kind of strange situation this is at all. Embanian says that this is a simple candidate selection. Supposedly the essence of the exam is to withstand the pressure of the examiners. As if at this pace they want to leave only 10 of the candidates, he asks her if she does not think this is too harsh a selection. Embanian says that he believes with such strength of spirit, anything is possible for both of them. Is their soul really that strong? One of the hosts exclaims that they found a cute find, and Ryuya anxiously asks, does this mean that No AM is in trouble? Ambient asks if it's true. It seems he is also interested in seeing their skills. Shiger says that she is such a prankster and too cute that you just want to hug her. She says, moo, after every word and claims that this is her special ability. It's just a pity that she was told to be noisy today. She tells Gnome that she is currently half transformed, so she doesn't even have a chance to win by accident. Whether she passes the exam depends on how long she can resist. Gnome asks if she is sleeping. How much longer will she keep talking? If he is going to beat her, she will probably hit first. Noam says that they are simply the worst, and people should not be judged only by their abilities or lack thereof. She insists that Ryuya is far stronger than all of them, but they just ignore and avoid him, and even dare to call themselves examiners, and that is exactly what they do. She calls them heretics. Sheger angrily asks what is she even saying, because he doesn't understand at all what she means. Does she really become stupid when angry? Noam grumbles about how irritable she is. She says that although she is just a small fish, nowhere near Ryuya, he still clearly hears her. Noam hissed threateningly that he will beat her well and show her the difference between them. Shiger doesn't understand, and his scream bursts out. That she challenges her, and that she is brave because she dared to behave so boldly with a representative of rank A. Another mistress sharply tells Teger that she is stupid and that one should not approach her so thoughtlessly, because in her lives the mutability of the very king of alchemy. Noom strikes this Shagger with one blow. She falls and a scream bursts from her throat in pain. That it does not hurt her that much. The sensation is as if her nose was pierced by some knife. Ryues sees all this and thinks that it is a mixture of many smells. No one says that when she transforms into a beast, her sight, hearing, and smell become proportionally sharper. In other words, the reaction to the potion will intensify. Sheger continues to cry, then clenches from pain and rubs his nose. Gnome says that feral cats reacts wildly when someone marks her territory with another owner, and since she inherited the traits of cat, this instinct is also present in her, so many of her potions work wonderfully. She opens the flask and says that she will pour it on her body. It will be very interesting. Shekar shouts that she thinks she is like the devil himself and begs her to stop. Noem throws a potion at her. Shagger shouts that it stinks. The arousing smell grows and grows, and the two hosts stand and watch. Noem throws her another potion. The master shouts at Shagger, you are like a domestic animal. If you shed your beast form, you will no longer react so sharply to smells, and they will stop being dangerous for you. Noem continues to throw potions at her. Shagger runs away and says she will use animal reflexes and definitely escape from her. They stood there and realized things are bad. She instinctively rushed into the game of dodging potions and fell into a trap because she completely underestimated her rival. The strength of that girl is an order of magnitude stronger than hers. Noam throws the bottle again, and immediately a bunch of questions appear in the air. The next moment it explodes. Shagger screams and sobs, covering her eyes with her hands. Noam says that her vision has also become sharper. Thanks to the alchemical transformation, she created a light potion. She says to her, step back already. She is already tired. Be a little more farsighted and pour all the potion directly on Shagger. Shigger screamed even louder, and the pain became even stronger. and Binyan looks down and says that she really beat her, how ruthless she is. Noam grabs a huge mace, all covered in spikes, and Shagger, amazed, asks, is this mace also some kind of alchemical technique? She says she bought it in a store. Shagger relaxes and says that's good, and in the background the hosts shout at her that it's bad. Does she really not understand what situation she is in? Noam calmly tells her not to worry and adds that later she will separate it with an alchemical spell, but she does not understand at all what is being talked about. Noam says that due to the alchemical effect at the moment of contact, it will instantly become 10 times harder, and apparently its mass will increase about 300 times. Noam swings her hand and begs her to die. She hurt. In tears, Shagger opens her eyes and sees that the club missed. A huge hole appeared at the spot of the strike. No one would say that this could have happened because of those sunglasses. She raises her head and threateningly says that next time she will not miss, and then asks what she should do. Shagger is in shock. She hoarsely says that she surrenders and asks not to be beaten. She doesn't want to be crushed like a ripe pomegranate, and Beanie notes that it seems the sarcasm will now stop. Really asks if it is really necessary after she was insulted several times. Grindo says that this girl has become completely insolent and orders him to stop because Shigger lost. He says that ultimately the ability to transform into a beast has its conditions and is also a rank, so of course it cannot be compared to the SSS rank ability. The host tells Gnome that she passed the first part of the exam. He asks her to sit in the corner and rest, and she obediently complies. He rejoices and says he is very happy. Such a talented girl with great abilities passed the exam, and they will fight in honor of her success and the fact that she became an adventurer. Knowing then asks if the ability is really that important. Everyone's eyes widen in shock. He is embarrassed and doesn't understand, asking what she is talking about. Gnome says that she hates abilities with all her heart. She says that before she got that ability, her days shone with happiness. But she ruined everything. Because of her ability, life turned into a continuous series of misfortunes. One day, one man changed everything with his own hands. And that meeting with that person, it gave her much more happiness than the ability of the King of Alchemy. The host apologizes and sincerely says that he does not understand at all what she is talking about. No one says that there are many things more important than skills. She says since he was one of those who did not notice, he will be destroyed too. And Binyan says he cannot take his eyes off how Gnome is growing up. She says to Ryuya, since you are already sure that you cannot worry for a few days, then even if disaster happens, she will force all enemies by force to realize how dirty the world they live in is. Ryuya tells her that he agrees, and then adds that he will focus on his exam. The three ask you what happened because for some reason they thought he was not with them. If he, being in the dungeon, flew into the clouds, he would easily die, so Ryu apologizes to him, and another brother offers to lick candy or salt because a little food on the road is simply necessary. The third loudly calls to the guys ahead, keep the pace because those who are not enduring are already starting to suffocate, and they listen to him. He says that their goal is to get everyone out of here. He will run last so as not to receive an unexpected blow in the back at the end. Ryuya sincerely believes that they are truly reliable. From the very beginning, none fell behind and no one was hurt, all thanks to the perfect defense of these big guys. Ryo asks them why they took command and behaved arrogantly, and one of them replies that he is just asking directly to the point. He adds that Ryuya is just like them, and probably already understood that they despised those without abilities. Ryuya says to himself that he understands this. The second says that out of ignorance they decided, those are weaklings, so they constantly pick on them and have become completely insolent. And they even try to intimidate them. They are out of their minds, and no one would approach them voluntarily. He asks Ryuya because he himself knows how harsh this world is to people without abilities. Ryuya notices that his voice suddenly became so gloomy. The giant says that their life as adventurers is pure bitterness. They are constantly underestimated, trampled on, and driven out from everywhere, and he does not understand how they endure this torment all because they cannot give up on their goal. The three say in unison, of course, we will not stray from the path. Even without abilities, they will definitely earn rank. Since none of them had abilities, he got exactly these guys, those whom no difficulties broke. They survived and became true veterans, never giving in to despair, no matter how hard it was, never losing hope and moving forward to their dreamed goal. Ryuya smiles and says that he is impressed. One thug chuckled and said, apparently, if you want to become an adventurer of rank A without ability, you must become a fool. The second adds that this year they will definitely become adventurers, and burst out laughing again. One says to the other that he seemed to be suffocating as if running too fast, and the other replies that sometimes it's hard to notice that you are completely exhausted, so let him remember that. He complains again that he drank too much water, and in the dungeon water should be drunk only at certain intervals. Another points with his finger and says, "Nothing can be done, I will share my flask." The third raised his hand and said loudly, "Now we are allies, so we will cover each other with all our strength." Here Ryuya says, "Enemy ahead." And to himself he thinks about the allies. He says that this is of course not bad, but with one punch he kills the monster. One burly man shouts that this brother crushed him again with one blow. The second says that this brother defeated almost everyone single-handedly. The third says that now they are rushing forward and no longer need to worry about the rest of the way. Ryuya feels that their laughter irritates him. He shouts the exit is just about to come, is that him? Suddenly he stops abruptly and wonders if it seems strange to them. Usually the light should be on at the exit. Ryuya asks them to wait a little, something is wrong. The giant repeats his words louder so everyone can hear. One of them disobeys, happily goes there and disappears. They say he got lost, not understanding what this darkness is. Ryuya says that during spot that burly one repeats this and says it belongs to that sunset, so the passage to the exit turns out to be one-way closed. Ryoja asks the big man what they are going to do. He says there's no time to think now, so they will just go through it. Ryoya starts to say that it is obvious that, oh no, then the cap of the man swallowed by darkness jumps out of the darkness. The giant says that it has already swallowed one of their comrades. If they do not join him quickly, he may be surrounded by a whole house of monsters, and then he cannot be saved. Ryuya is sure that he is right here. There is nothing worse in the dungeon than being separated from your comrades. Ryo says, "I agree with them," and then gives the order for the whole team to move forward together. For the sake of saving his comrades, he is ready for anything, even to go where every step could cost him his life. Only fools from the ranks of adventurers do such things, and he has already heard something like this somewhere. Senses sees all this and says aloud how foolish they are. The boy panics, thinking it can't be. Is it really so? The big man says that this place is exactly the same as the one where they were first thrown. The second asks if everything is here. Someone asks, is this an endless loop that uses the ability of another dimension? Ryuya feels as if that smiling boy has no intention of letting them pass the exam, as if he is reading their thoughts. Sensen says that's not true. He says he believes in them, even without special abilities. Only through effort and enthusiasm they achieve excellent results and will succeed. He adds if they have no courage, then they should not be given the right to take the A-rank exam, unless he, just in case, decides to say that he is always ready to accept those who want to give up. Ryuya thinks he has enough audacity. Everyone already knows what he wants to get rid of them by giving them an absolutely impossible task, and he simply justifies his actions with absurd logic. Someone in the crowd says that they look down on people without abilities, but I really think it's because of him. There is no doubt Prince Cemento has targeted him specifically, so he involved others in his plan. The giant says that it seems here Ryuya interrupts him. Don't you dare, are you really going to fall? He says that retreat also requires courage. First they will leave here, and then they will challenge this unfair exam all the way to the guild council. He is convinced that this is the best plan now. Benian calls Ryu, asks what happened, and he replies that he is busy. In the background the brothers are already giving up and saying that nothing can be done. Ambien says he will be glad to hear what she has to say. But first he will have to listen to her lecture. She asks if he will listen to her. One burly man says that this is already the second round, and that some of the contestants are completely exhausted, but they are adventurers precisely because, despite weakness, they are still here. Another adds that in such a situation they are put within the limits of their abilities, so they should consider this training and first get to the surface. Ryoya says he understands, raises his hand, and adds that he is going down. The brothers look at him in shock. They ask him what he is saying. Has he really become strange, realizing that he is cornered? Here, after 10 years, it is not customary to go against the flow. The exit is above and below no one, only the dungeon floor. Ryoya says he needs a thing. It is in the very heart of the dungeon, so he decides to simply destroy it. They do not understand and ask what he said, and Amnion explains. The dungeon is just a curved space that is born and maintained by the core. Ryu says that if the core is destroyed, the dungeon will collapse, the space will change sharply, and his ability will instantly disappear. He raises a finger and says that in such a mess they will leave here magnificent. The three brothers coldly say that they understand, and then shout that this is too reckless. They ask if he understands even a little how difficult it is to destroy the dungeon core, because it is hidden deep within the bowels. No one knows how deep, but he knows at least 20 floors. They say there are plenty of monsters there, and even for an adventurer of rank A, it is unreal. Let him think carefully. Ryoja wonders if they really all care about him. After all, they are such people. He wants to take the exam with them, says everything is fine because he has a good idea. Revia grabs him and hits straight down. A hole appears in the floor. Everyone froze in shock. Did he really break the floor? Someone shouts that the lower level is visible. Revia tells the guys that if he keeps hitting the floor like that, he will very quickly reach the lower floor. He believes that a good idea is hard work. Ryuya asks everyone to come to the exit and wait there. The giant asks who he is. If he destroys the core while at the very bottom, then Razor Pesnia will most likely hit him. Ryoja says that to reach the rank without abilities, you have to be a fool. He asks the brothers if that is really so. After silence, the brothers burst into loud laughter. They say he is absolutely right and that it is wonderful, so they loudly call everyone to listen to him. They tell Ryu that he has a wonderful hooligan spirit, and he suggests later everyone gather as a company of hooligans. Another, with hope in his voice, said that now he also sees a way out of this situation. Revia smiles and says that it is wonderful. He repeatedly strikes the floor with his fists, descending lower and lower. At the lowest level of the dungeon, Revia sees something strange and thinks with trepidation, could this be the core? It looks like a crystal. He swung and hit the crystal. Suddenly a noise sounds and he wonders, what is this? Could it really be a signal before destruction? He decides that he must hurry and return upstairs. He instantly rose. Everyone greets him with a smile. And they ask, so is this the dungeon? Ryu turns around and asks if everyone got out alive and well. No one answers. Ruja raised his hand and shouted joyfully that they all passed. Everyone laughed happily and shouted that they passed. Sensen approaches them and asks distrustfully, are you joking? He, confused and terrified, asks if they even understand what they have just done. Arayo replies that they gave all their strength to pass the exam by willpower and joint efforts. He says he doesn't care that they destroyed the dungeon after all, it really belongs to this country. When someone doubts whether they understand how important dungeons are, countries use them to extract the most diverse materials. Revia replies that happens. Sensen says the economy of the entire state will stop, and this will cause a huge disaster. Ryu again says that happens, and the big man nearby laughs. Sensate shouts that the disappearance of the dungeon took away many jobs, all local adventurers were left without tasks, and he sternly asks them, how will you answer to the hundreds of ordinary people who suffered because of your actions? Ryuya again says that this happens, and the burly man again laughs and shouts at them, answer. Revia says that then she will answer him for real. What is he talking about? Did he fall from a mountain or what? Ryuya says, does he really think he will take responsibility? He is the Joker, he is the same here. He shouts that it was they who destroyed the core and ruined the dungeon. Rivia says that it was he who destroyed the core, but he made him come up with this plan, threw them into the dungeon and made the goal of the exam to get out of there, so they gathered having only his instructions. Roidza says that even without that ability, they still found a way to do it. He angrily asks why did they destroy the entire dungeon, because it was. Ryoya interrupts him and says that he said so himself. He sincerely repeats that he believes in them. Even without abilities, only through effort and enthusiasm they will achieve excellent results and pass successfully. If they are asking then who will pay for this huge damage? Everyone points at him and shouts that, of course, it will be him. Ryo says since he is the examiner, he prepared an example of how to solve his task. After all, he closed the exit from the dungeon with the ability to distort space, so the only way out is to break it, isn't it? But if he gave a task that is impossible to complete, he would be a worthless examiner. Feeling growls full of rage. Ryulia says that he does not consider now the right time to act according to his rank and show everyone how to take responsibility. They call him Mr. the current examiner of adventurers of rank A. The crowd buzzed that it is true and Ryu is absolutely right. He forced them to take the exam under absurd conditions, and when the time came they ran away. Where is the honor of a rank holder? And the crowd begins to laugh. Then he barked that he doesn't care. And he himself was initially against this. He did not want to be the curator of such people. He was forced into it, but now everyone considers him guilty. He is the chief inspector, so the responsibility lies with him. He summons a portal and shouts to the others to run and report to him, but he doesn't care, and in general, the guild is to blame for organizing such a stupid exam. He does not calm down. He shouts that he is not guilty, and then simply disappears. Revia says that he ran away, and the burly guy asks what they should do now. Ryuya says that the examiner told them to go to someone more important and ask him. They all confidently declare that they are not guilty. Other hosts see them and ask if these are the same guys without abilities who failed the exam. Why did they come back here? They failed the exam, so they need to go home. The host said that they just finished the first part of the exam. This time the examinees were such cowards. Out of all the examinees, they are sure of only one person. This conversation does not concern the others, so let them go home, and Ryuya tells them that they passed the exam. They do not understand at all what he is talking about. Ryua insists again. They pass the additional exam and now they demand the main one. He asks what kind of joke is this? Does he really want clumsy people to attack him? And what does the verdict do at all? Revia replies that he left in a hurry. The examiner simply does not understand. Ryuya says that during the exam he destroyed the dungeon and probably destroyed it. The listener does not believe and asks to repeat. Ryuya says that he has a message from him supposedly. He, as the chief examiner, will take full responsibility. He asks what is this nonsense. They ask him how he managed to destroy the dungeon. It must be a mistake. Ryuya calmly replies that he really destroyed it, and they shout that it cannot be. They say that there is nothing to talk about with such a person, so he leaves them on Grindel and goes alone to check everything. Rindo says that if he really destroys it, he will strike so hard that it will fly into the air, and if it turns out to be a simple throw, he will beat it well. He returns and says it is destroyed. Grindo asks what that means. He says exactly as he said. What did sentence do? Ryo says that if he does not mind, they, who are incapable, will quickly explain everything, and asks him to lay it all out. He tells them, but they do not believe. They shout that it is a lie, cannot believe that a person without abilities is capable of this, so they decide that it is time to punish him and give the order to arrest. Ryoya says that at first he claimed he would not recognize him, and then asked to arrest himself, so he contradicts himself. They growl at him, "Shut up, do you understand how important this dungeon is? It is the property of the kingdom which you destroyed." The host shouted that he would make the Adventurers Guild pay a huge sum, and from now on they will not be able to get an arena to hold the exam. All responsibility will fall on them. Ruiz says that it was them who allowed this to happen. He grabs someone by the collar and shouts at him, "Shut up." He lifts him up and says that since it happened this way, the best thing is to put all the blame on him and get rid of him. If everything succeeds, he will compensate with the life of one worthless person, and then he himself will no longer be worthless. In Ruya's memory, Ambinian's words sound again. Someone like her could give birth to what people call the core of the dungeon. Their fateful meeting took place in a castle, which, in a broad sense, was also a dungeon. Moreover, if he wanted, she could create a new dungeon core after he destroyed it, because she was ready to fulfill absolutely any wish for him. He thanked her, said he understood everything, and added that it was a good job. Ryuya believes that when he behaves like that, he understands why everyone starts worrying about him when he asks them not to worry and to leave everything to him. He says the exam was deliberately made absurd to weed out those without abilities, and that it is not a crime to fulfill such an unrealistic condition. He tells him that he has a higher ability, so he can solve this problem instead of his runaway comrade. The cries of Soidi. Here Grindo intervenes and says to him, "Leave it to me." He asks that all responsibility be shifted onto him, then he will deal with him himself. Grindo activates his ability and attracts all the weapons to himself, like a magnet. He is called the Steel Exoskeleton. Sodi says that he breaks down metal into fibers and makes armor from them. That is why he is called Iron Beam. Ruyai says that he can be proud because he will die at the hands of an Arank, and he swings and delivers a deadly blow of justice. At that moment Grindo's iron hand crumbles, and the examiner himself screams in pain. Grindel falls and shouts why his armor broke. Ryuya says that his power gathers all the metal around, and since his fist is as hard as metal, there is only one thing that can resist it, so he freezes with his mouth open. Thanks to burning feelings, Ryuya relentlessly trained his body. Ryuya hits Grindo, he crumbles and flies backward. The announcer shouts his name, not believing, "This can't be." Ryuya tells him that the condition for passing the first part of the exam was to defeat one of the examiners, and he asks if that means he passed it. He asks if he must defeat exactly him, the strongest of all, because only then will he officially pass the exam and become an adventurer of rank A. He threateningly asks again, "What did I just say?" He asks if he can defeat him, or if he really thinks he can, although he has no abilities. Ryoya asks, is he the strongest among all this small fry? He flared up with rage because he called them small fry. Suddenly, a member of the Adventurers Guild Council, Bistamario, runs up and shouts at them to stop, but seeing her, he instantly freezes. The girl asks because this is the place where the official rank assignment exam is held. This is no place for bloody fights. The host immediately bows. Ryuya asks who this is and what child it is. The host sternly says, "Fear, before you stands a council member, show respect." He says that this is the same girl, a council member who governs all the adventure guilds in the world. Standing before him is a council member of Bistamario. Revia decides that she is some influential person. He doesn't quite understand who she is, but probably he should bow, and she says that he doesn't need to bow to her. She says that ultimately they are just parasites who only formally govern them, but in reality just ruin their lives. Ryuya thinks how modest she is. Maybe she is kind. She anxiously asks Sadis why he has looked so bad for the last few minutes. Has he really gotten into some serious trouble? They tell him that his whole face is sweaty. He explains that the destruction of the dungeon was not at all in his plans, and that he understands the council will not be able to avoid problems. Since it has come to this, he decided to say that this crime was personally committed by this incapable man, so he immediately ordered to make him apologize to the kingdom of Rubrum. She ponders. He adds that he also sincerely regrets as a council member he had to come here personally. She says that she wants to tell him this is not good. He is the proctor at the exam, so everything that happened during it is on his shoulders. If he invented a condition that cannot be fulfilled without destroying the dungeon, then isn't it his own fault? The girl says that she will ask again just in case whether Ryuya destroyed the dungeon, and he answers that it was him. She asks how. He replies that he went down all the way to the very bottom, and then slammed right into the cannonball. The girl asks how he hit the cannonball. He says that if she doesn't believe it, then she doesn't need to. She replies that she just wanted to make sure and that he said everything correctly. The girl says that all responsibility lies with the exam supervisor. This exam was conducted without the permission of the council members. It was their initiative. Everyone here was shocked. She says that she heard no rumors about conducting an additional test for those lacking abilities. She throws at the host, so what, and insists that Savati's answer for his actions, 496. The girl says that they all differ only in whether they have abilities, not by kingdom affiliation, gender, or ideology. She calls to discard all prejudices and choose new rank of tasks because only abilities and merits should be evaluated, and then she asked him to promise. She tells him that she taught him so that he would understand, and that is exactly why he looks so pathetic now. He only says that he sincerely apologizes. The girl says that he disobeyed the elder's orders and secretly began deciding for himself what is right and what is not. Ryuya didn't even think she would take such measures against him. She will wear him out. The girl says that she will tell him directly that she is disappointed in him and believes that he better forget about trying to become a rank donkey. He begins to scream, begging her to wait. She says that, of course, she does not intend to blame only him for everything. She says if his claim that someone else is guilty turns out to be true, I will personally apologize to the kingdom of Rubrums. And if she cannot beg them for return, she will have to gather her courage and cry right here in front of him, no matter how much she does not want to. Ryuya considers her a 3-year-old child. Now she addresses all the exam participants and says that she must sincerely apologize to them for all the efforts they had to make. He bows low before them and asks to accept her deepest apologies. Ru says no, they really didn't try very hard. He suggests moving on to the main point and she agrees. She says, I will make sure that everyone who has not yet been told that they failed the exam can continue taking it. She says that at first they will suspend the exam, and a little later she will definitely continue it, so for now everyone can go and rest. She speaks and everyone listens. She turned to Sovdes. She says that before she goes to apologize to the kingdom of Rubrum, she wants to hear everything from him in detail, for example, why he did not follow the advice. He listens to her. Rua thinks that apparently he will lack time. He already wants to continue the exam to finish it quickly. Rua calls Noam. She says that the most important thing is that he is safe. He says that he himself is happy for her. He suggests that she go to the hotel and she obeys him. The brothers laughed and say that now they too will have to part with him. One exclaims that it seems they also did not fail the exam all thanks to him. The second asks to be allowed to thank him because they really did not fail the exam, and the third adds that traveling with him was a real pleasure. It seems Noam asks what happened to them. Ruya explains everything to her. He asks if there is a hotel where they could stay. Noam assumes that there probably is one. By the way, Ryuya forgot to say that he can return the dungeon, although they are still a little worried. But that girl from the council seems nice. Maybe it was worth quietly telling her. Zemnanto watches them from afar. Did they notice you? He thought you looked quite bad. It seemed he was terribly scared. Did he even have anything left in reserve after that? At the hotel, Noam says that she will be the first to take a shower, and that she is completely soaked with sweat. She says that the shower here is quite spacious. Revia freezes in the middle of the common room, and immediately wants to prove that there was nothing sinister hidden here. At first he wanted separate rooms, but Noam started saying that they need to save money, so they ended up in one room. There was no hidden agenda. She comes out and shouts his name, asks if he should take a shower first, apologizes for not asking his opinion, and he says it's all right so she can go. She returns to the shower and Banyan says to him, if you want to save, why don't we take a shower together? He indignantly calls her by name. She says it's a perfectly logical proposal, and deep in his heart Noam quietly hopes for it. She says to rub their bodies against each other and act on instinct because it's the best pleasure for all living things. Rydia drives all thoughts from her head and says that they are accepted individually and in turn such are the rules of this house. And Baniana defensively says, let her do as she wants. She says that then she will take a shower with Gnome because she is so sweaty. Raya stops her and says that for her it is impossible. He seriously asks how things are going there. She asks if he really means it. She looked at what happened to that man. She did excellently as a secret agent and saw how well he had fun. Rydia asks, so what? Embanian says that that big small creature got terribly angry because of what he did, so much so that it was hard to understand who among them was the real child. Embanian sat down nearby and says that he is the strongest and almost never allows himself to rest. Does he really fear losing so much that he is ready to give up everything that might hinder him? Ryoya thinks that he does not want to lose, they might attack him again. Ambanian says that he must be punished. The guild will inevitably have to pay huge compensation, which means he might even lose his A-rank adventurer title, but still. If it all ends like that, then it turns out he was lucky. Let all who made you look foolish regret it, let them get what they deserve. Ryuya pondered, given the situation, it is best to ask him to stay nearby to later create a new dungeon heart, but if he delays and stays silent, they will accuse him of not speaking earlier. Everything depends on the right moment. A minion asks, why not just leave it broken? He says, no, that won't do. Ryuya, who thinks rationally, wants many people who could suffer from this to avoid such a fate. Embanian says he is exaggerating, they had a reason to act that way, and adds that this man, the chief examiner, was placed under house arrest and was already heading there. Ambien asks where, in his opinion, she is heading. Rua thinks she is back to her old ways and that she can do nothing about it. He takes Ambignan's hands and says he is grateful with all his heart that she always helps him with her boundless strength. She asks in surprise why he did it so suddenly. He says with a serious face that he is happy to have such a reliable ally like her. She blushes and says he shouldn't have said that, but she is very pleased that he said it for her. He thanks her. Here begins Ambini's lecture. It turns out that before this, her clone was following this boy. She reproduces everything he saw on the wall. It will be like a moving picture, and he will see everything with his own eyes. Ryuya thinks he does not quite understand what she is talking about, but it seems cool to him. Suddenly numerous Ambinis and clones appear and one commands, let the show begin. In the 5-star hotel, Zimnato shouts, this is nonsense. Zimnato asks for help how to explain this now that he is a criminal responsible for the destruction of the dungeon of the Rubrum Kingdom. So they ask if there will be problems. He answers directly, if their relationship becomes known, there will be problems. He shouts that if people start thinking that he is involved in the crime, it will hurt his fight for the throne and he should not come to this hotel in such a state, and then the angry Soids tells him not to talk nonsense. The examiner grabbed him by the collar and shouted that he was the one who first pushed him to this, told him to frame that guy he had his eye on. He exclaimed that he thought the job was easy when he heard that the guy was incapable of anything. The man begged to be released. He shouted that he also thought it was a great offer. A task where you only had to frame one person, and what a reward it was. He adds that because of this he is on the verge of losing the title of adventurer. Lossy Brat Bistamario told him this to his face, and if her words come true, it will be the end for him too. Does he understand that? Zimnanto asks why. He answers that he is not obliged to protect him. If he dies, he will take him with him. Raya and all copies of Embaniand watch this and say, wow, after this it will be clear who will inherit the throne. Raya is also shocked, chewing popcorn. Soida says he will tell everything. Zimnanto shouts not that and asks him to listen. He says let him take the blame and then he will properly reward him. The audience is dissatisfied with his words. However, Soy directly tells him that he will not live to see it. He adds that if they are destined to die, then they will all die together, meaning their fate is shared, and he understands well what that means. He presses him against the wall and says, if we are both destined to die anyway, isn't it better to try to find a way out of this situation? He says that tonight he will send Ryu to attack that loser. We immediately wonder if he is going to attack him. He says that he will kill him first, then set the hotel on fire not only to burn the body, but also to get rid of all possible witnesses, which will complicate the investigation of the case. Ryuya thinks that this is exactly what a startup of level A says. Sodi insists an adventurer named Noam must be with him, and she is the one who must get rid of just in case. Todazumanto intervenes and asks, can't they leave her alive and just take her with them, because she has a very valuable high-level ability, and he would see her innocence and beauty. Officially she will be listed among the dead in the fire, and they will make her their pawn. Ryu is still convinced that prince is no good to be king. Soida says that it is not possible. Although it hurts her to lose her ability, she must get rid of it all for their safety. Zemnato then asks him before killing her to allow him to do it at least once. He asks if they have agreed. Ryuya decisively says that this will not happen and orders Abinion to move forward. Soida says that he has already prepared everything necessary, and if someone tries to escape, let him kill them. Then he suddenly realizes his body does not move. The second shouted his body also refused. He cannot even move his fingers. They do not understand why and scream in panic, asking for help. Soidas hisses at Nantu to be silent and says that they must act secretly. Ambinian appears above them and says that she would very much like to see something pleasant amid human panic. They see her and shout, "Ghost, what is she doing in the middle of the city, and is it her doing?" She replied, "Exactly because they wanted to harm her master." Semnanto says that if she has a master then she is someone's familiar. Then Ryuya enters, greets warmly and declares that it is him. Zoid says that it turned out he used the ghost, found out everything and calls him a scoundrel. Ryuya says that it is good that he understands everything so quickly. Emboniant contemptuously says to Ryui that miserable people will never break free from her chains of consciousness, and asks if they will leave these suspicious people here until morning. Simnanto does not stop shouting and begging for help, crying out that he is the future king of the Centakilian kingdom. So Aides calls Ambinian a miserable spirit and shouts at her not to underestimate him, and Ambinian is stunned he waved them off and even called her miserable. Ryuaya wonders how he even managed to remove these shackles. He reads their characteristics and suddenly realizes they can change the direction of force and return it back. They activate if something touches the body and absorb the ability of the thing that touched it. Ryuya loudly says that he changes the direction of force. Ambient explains that this ability is governed by the laws of physics themselves. It turns out he can even reflect her telekinesis, which has neither form nor body. This is a rather rare ability. She adds that by human standards his abilities are simply excellent. Sood says that she spies on others' abilities and judges them. He calls her a treacherous ghost. Ambient begins to get angry. Ryuja asks her to calm down. Then Soids offers to tell them exactly what his ability is. Ryoya sees that he uses a vector reflector, and the enemy tells him that all attacks aimed at him return back to the attacker with the same force. Since he got this ability, he has never been harmed in battle. Ryuya throws something at him and deliberately misses. Ambinian says that the stronger the attack, the stronger it will return back. This ability affects the applied force, so it has no limits. She says the stone crumbled to dust only because the throw was extremely powerful. Ryuya tells her he understands. Ryuya believes that even an attack so strong that it cannot be reflected will not affect him. Yet he asks, do they really think he cannot attack himself with this ability? He instantly attacks and says that this is a big mistake. Ryu thinks that it activates on touch as soon as it touches something. It returns blows from any objects and bounces from the ground, and reflections hit twice as hard. Ambinian told Ryuya that this ability definitely works through a pentagram, and Ryuya felt if there is no feedback he will not be able to jump further, so he forced himself to stop thinking about such trifles and admitted his calculations were futile. So he lunges at him and attacks Ryu with a sword, shouting "die" at him, but Ryu easily stops his attack. Soides is frozen in shock, and timidly begins to ask if Ryuya really took the attack with bare hands. He immediately jumps back, and then he shouts that this cannot be. He has accumulated so much power through multiple reflections that he could easily break through even armor. He asks himself in surprise if he really has an ability that prevents even cold weapons from cutting his skin. He clarifies that he definitely does not have abilities, so what is this then? Ryo says he cannot believe it. He is struck that someone as gifted and arrogant as he thinks that all this is just because of abilities. So Aide says that from what he told, something similar could have happened even to someone who was given nothing, so he tells him, stop lying. Soida says, yes, indeed. Vector reflectivity CC rank and first-class ability. The fact that he has it and is himself a rank and inevitability among all inevitabilities, and he attacks Ryu from behind. He shouts that he cannot allow someone as talentless as him to take away his rank. He shouts "die" at him because instinct says that after this, the one who will be saved is himself, the one who possesses the higher ability. Ryu, throwing small change with an agreeing yes, repeated the same thing he was shouting, because everyone must understand that he was destined to kill him. Ryu thinks this means a CC rank ability, and for the first time he encountered one that can ignore almost everything. Ryuya is a person without an ability. He can only increase his level, physical strength, striking power, and endurance for him. This is the only way to become stronger, but his own ability makes everything he achieves pointless. This is the power of his skill. Ambignon and Zimnanto watch him. The latter is delighted and finds it incredible. What are they doing? Ryo wondered if his efforts would be destroyed by talent, but suddenly rejects this thought. No, it's too early, and extends his hands to him. He understands he is returning an invisible force, like a stone. He shouts that he cannot be taught, not even caught. He deflects not only blows and cutting attacks, his power repels absolutely any external force. He claims that he has no weak spots. Ruya wonders if this is true. Mbini and telekinesis worked flawlessly from the start. That is, the reflection ability does not work automatically. He thinks no, it probably is not capable of that. Ryu asks him what will happen if he continues trying to grab him by the shoulders. So he spoke because he began to suffocate. He had encountered a few such fools before. He adds this has happened to everyone. He decisively declares, I will kill him. He stabs him in the stomach and falls into shock himself. He thinks that you can't even hit him in the stomach. He calls Ryu a monster. He decides to deliver 1,000 blows to stupidity. No one is sleeping peacefully right now. After some time, Suede says his hand went numb, and Ryudia managed to place his hands on her shoulders, saying that everything happened quite quickly. He was ready to spend a month on it. Then he squeezed her shoulders until they cracked. A scream of pain tears through the air, and Ambinian asks, do you think, if all his bones were crushed, does it look like he can no longer become an adventurer? Ryuya says he actually wanted to cut him in half, and Minion claims that is fair. Zimnanto looks at them with a face full of fear and horror, mouth slightly open, teeth trembling, sweat running down his face. Ryuya turns his Zimnanto and says that now it's his turn. Behind him, Sodis lies writhing in pain and seems to crawl toward him. He tells him that he is a very vengeful person, and in the chase for the throne, it seems he does not shy away from any methods. He got scared and retreated, but Amdian's power stopped him and said that actually it was not he who planned their murder, but he himself begged someone to save him. Ryoja says that the very fact that he spoke about the murder already indicates his involvement. He asks if he understands that if the father finds out about this, he definitely will not become king and would rather choose to die right here in a glorious death. Zamnato's face is full of fear. He trembles, realizing that it is all over for him. Zamnato screams that he does not want to die and asks for the father to speak too. He leans back, waving his hands slyly like a little child, but Ambinian's power stops him, and suddenly he smiles and says he does not want to. He stretches out his hand, pinches his middle finger with his thumb, and shouts for him to eat it as if he is about to slap, then uses his royal skill, flattery, and snaps his fingers. Everything around shines. Ryuya froze in place, not understanding what this royal skill was. Zimnato smiled and said he had let his guard down. He thought the heirs had no skills, but his skill was not as simple as Les Ledz's. Zemnanto enchants with his voice and whispers, listen to the idol's voice. Everyone who hears it and obeys his words will do whatever she desires. This is the skill of the blue-blooded. Ryuya feels his voice echoing in his chest. What is this feeling of boundless respect? As if his heart is completely bare. It is an unbearably warm feeling. Zemnato whispers to him that he is now his master. His strength is his strength. Ryuya turns to him and calls him master. Zemnanto says that's right, now he will take it and fully do what was asked. At that moment, Ryuya hits Zemnato in the face and says, this is impossible. Your voice really echoed in my chest, but it did not affect me at all, so you cannot command me. He says that it is not skills that make him the one who commands people, but only his character and actions. Without them, he is not a king. Only Les Ledza had a voice that could stir thousands of hardened hearts. Her words made the heart beat faster. Zimnatale lies on the ground, almost unconscious, blood flowing from his nose. Abinian sighs. Ryoya asks what happened. Does he think hitting someone from the royal family was a bad idea? Ambidian replies, no, just think his skill did not affect him. He is really a person with an extraordinarily strong will. Ryoya replies that he does not think so. With such a brainless master, this skill would have subdued anyone. Ambinian says that is not so and is sure. Almost no one in human history could withstand such his skill. Ambinian says that maybe it means he is no longer a human, but something even higher. How interesting. Then she adds that hitting him was the right decision. Ruius smiles and says that it was necessary from the very beginning. Since they managed to stop the main instigators, it remained only to send an assistant to deal with the rest of the small riffraff, and on this their participation in the investigation of the crime and the rubrum should have ended, but suddenly someone shouted that it was still too early.